He had one of the few games on Karma last split, and he was incredible. He made the champion look like it was made in 2025, and it is very, very S tier. But to see things like the Nami banned away first rotation, not super surprising. The Rise as well. I'm not expecting anything too out of the ordinary or particularly targeted here. I think these bans are going to stay along the lines of things like your Varus, your Rumble, maybe a Jarvan. And then it's all about what's still up and available and what these teams are willing to trade. Exactly, Orianna as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's things like the Ashe Seraphine still strong, Lucian Milio, Lucian lanes in general pretty strong. We've chatted about the Orianna, which again is one of those champions who very rarely sees it through. We often see things like the Jarvan ban. Feels like just in general, guys, there are quite a lot of champions that are just very strong right now. And yes, you can answer it with kind of S-tier picks and bot lanes and duos or whatever of your own, but it's still not the simplest to just give them up and not have a plan. You do have to have some answers, and as it stands, that Orianna is going to get banned, very rarely makes it through the draft, but that Karma, Jamada, if it's not banned here by FlyQuest, and we're getting some agreement there from our furry four-legged friends
from my furry four-legged friend, I believe there might be someone at my front door. Happens.
Okay.
But I expect that this is going to be Pantheon, right? That's the other thing, really, that for me,
yeah, true.
I feel like you give it to Jose Diodio, if it's up, he will take it, and he is just terrifying on this champion.
So
unless there's something I'm missing that they don't want to walk into, Griffin could do something like a Mundo, and then you have jungle tempo on it where you just get to clear significantly faster than that Pantheon and try to take over the game through having faster timers. But even then, eventually Pantheon catches up. He can start cheating things with that global. There is some push and pull there. We'll see exactly where TL want to go, because this is also another duo that has been really high priority for TL. If Seraphine is up, they will take it. And I do expect that if you are FlyQuest, you have to try and at the very least separate the Pantheon from the Seraphine Ashe if you're willing to give it over and take a particular 2v2 pairing into the Ashe Seraphine.
It's such an insane CC chain with so much global threat as well, with the Arrow and the Man Drop being able to back up each other wherever they are around the Rift. So I agree with you. I think either picking it here or having an answer is going to be required. The Bard is another one of those champions that has been very potent. If there's anything that has been beating the Ashe Seraphine in the lane, Bard, normally plus the Ezreal, honestly has been that answer. Some Jhin lanes as well for people who've been following some of our better Jhin players around. Potential lock-in here of the Anivia. It's only a hover right now, but has kind of started to just come out, not just in counter to the Rise, but as just as generally strong option. But some fun hovers here. Jarvan's up, Nocturne's up. Few different ways to try and deal with the Pantheon, either by team fighting or bringing a global of your own.
Yeah, it's always been kind of strange to me, the Jarvan. I don't want to say priority. I do think this champion is strong, and I still hold this kind of weird, I feel like, not status quo opinion that I would still always rather have Jarvan when there's just the mobile champs on the enemy team. I feel like the champ is good, but, you know, if you're playing up against the Pantheon, skirmishing is always going to be something that Jarvan kind of is good at, but to me, Pantheon just succeeds at more, and he gets to impact the side lanes, you know, at will in comparison to how the Jarvan can. I've been liking the Nocturne answer a bit more, but when you've got Seraphine, Ashe, you want to play these death ball comps, diving can be a little bit more difficult, so Jarvan here, of course, makes sense, and just, again, something that Jose, very proficient at, takes out of the pool, and I expect that Masu is going to lean towards something like the Caitlyn here. Caitlyn Bard, a lot of range, a lot of setup, and just kind of allows you to play at range.
I completely forgot about that champion. I was saying, Jhin. I was like, you're right, Caitlyn is exactly the thing you normally do. They can fight fire with fire.
You could go Jhin, but then you would need, you know,
damage elsewhere,
a real strong DPS threat up on the top side in that. But it is that Caitlyn. No big surprise. I feel like that was always going to end up being Masu's choice here. Otherwise, you know, with things like the Ezreal out, that would have probably been his like preference if it wasn't banned. But now we hit the second ban phase, and with both these teams matching each other in picks, it's more about what FlyQuest are willing to pick on 4 here, and that first ban will kind of give us that look at what they're likely to cover. I think something like a Galio, maybe just off rip and blind, however, might be worth considering when, again, you've got that Ashe Seraphine combo, the Jarvan there, the big gargoyle dunking on top of that, and just being this big bulky health bar is always a little bit threatening on top of that too.
Taking away some of Lord Morgan's more famous picks, namely that Renekton, which made his name for, shout out to Munchables wherever he is, for that particular naming of the glorious top laner of the aristocracy for Liquid. There's come all the way over to NA, of course, and that Renekton, you know, for years Morgan's been playing that, so no surprise there. Might also suggest that Gakos is debating something like a Gnar, which is one of those champions that you can sort of blind pick and say, hey, either I can play this strong side split push, or I can play low economy, build a Sterax, go for the team fights, deal with the fact that people are going to run at me. Has kind of been a top lane option on that front, especially with the Renekton ban, though. The other thing that you often then look to pick up would have been something like that Ambessa, which can pair up very well with the Pantheon, so that's going to be removed instead by Team Liquid.
Yeah, whenever you see the Renekton ban away, you always kind of just get the jitters for, okay, maybe they want Ambessa top, so not too surprised. Or on another takeaway, they could go towards a Sion as well and just kind of remove all of those S-tier champions, and then we start to get some more creative picks as far as those top laners are concerned. One thing I've always noticed, however, as of late, is that Rumble has just been super low priority in NA. It tends to always make it to this second rotation of picks or even bans, so maybe that's what ends up being banned here, but if you're Liquid, they go Rumble, you just go Sion into it, and you're not that fast. So with Cassio banned, does mean a few things, like maybe you just end up with like Aurora Nivea here from Quid, depending on what this 4 pick is. Again, with all of these top laners out, I do anticipate that Gakos is going to be looking towards a top lane pick of his own. Sion, like we mentioned, might be a little bit too risky, just considering, again, there are plenty of carry options still up and available for Morgan. Hovering over towards that Rumble, could just get that handshake, and we end up calling it a day in the top lane.
It is, and again, very strong with things like the Bard, with things like the Pantheon. You can just lock people on top of the Equalizer or throw down the Equalizer on whoever you're trying to pick, and that can be a very dangerous combo. Also, Jarvan can end up in this position where he ends up in a hot pot of his own making. Aha, I put a Cataclysm down, and oh wait, now I'm stuck on the top of an Equalizer, which can kind of suck. It does, however, give Morgan the potential to try and counterpick. Things like the Kennen have been considered around the world a little bit. It's a hover right now. Wait to see whether he does decide towards it. Had to blind pick somewhere, and they decide not to take the skill matchup and go for something a little bit more stable. Sion plus Enchanter behind you, plus a Jarvan. That front to back is looking pretty disgusting right now for Team Liquid.
Yeah, that it is, and I wonder how they're going to end up rounding this off, because again, Seraphine comps you like to deathball. As far as mid laners are concerned, Quid has plenty of options still to blind, and I feel like he shouldn't be at too much of a threat. You would like to have something that can kind of side lane too, just because I feel like, again, against the Pantheon and against the potential, global mid here, if Quad wants to go down that route, it could be a little bit scary. But opting into the Annie, a little bit more 2v2 power. We'll see what Quad elects to opt into this, just because there are a wide range of options that you can go into Annie. Things like the Syndra if you want to dig kind of like deeper and more classical. But even things like the exactly, and or things like the Galio, just because again you're versus the Jarvan, but you might lack damage. You'll have plenty of setup, but those are kind of your typical answers. But we get a game 1 Victor here out of Quad, so kind of surprised, but one of the few champions that can deal well with diving champions like the Jarvan.
Yeah, and honestly, you can do okay into the Annie as well. You get the Roa to deal with the burst. The gravity field's really annoying for her when she tries to step up for the stun. Jarvan doesn't really enjoy it very much. The Sion can struggle with the gravity field. Now I'm looking at the side of FlyQuest, and yeah, the front line isn't necessarily that strong in terms of you have a Sion or an Ornn, but you do have quite a lot of zone control between things like the Tempered Fate, the traps, the gravity field, the Equalizer, and that's kind of the way they probably want to be playing that, I suspect. On the other side, Liquid, it's Enchanter, it's like significant amount of pick between an Ashe and an Annie on top of that, the front line of a Sion and a Jarvan, Enchanter, as I said, behind all that. We know how they want to play. It's turn up to objectives, turn up as a big old group, and Deathball with all of that crazy front line and consistent DPS if you can find it.
Yeah, exactly. I think these comps kind of play themselves, right? So a lot of this is going to kind of come down to execution, and I think specifically, again, I look towards these junglers. I look towards Griffin on this Pantheon, on how he's going to attempt to impact either side of the map, or even maybe mid, as soon as he hits 6. But then, of course, the mid game is all about finding picks with your carries. In this case, you've got Victor and you've got Rumble, so it's a strange kind of circumstance of your 2v2s might not inherently be the strongest until first item in the case of in the case of the Victor. And for the Rumble, I guess circumstantially, well, let's just say that champ has high prio for a reason in many regions. If the champs he's looking at are squishy, he will delete them.
The question as well is whether he decides to go towards the combat summoning, because we have seen a fair number of Rumbles go towards things like the Ignite as well. Whether you want to do that into the Sion is another matter entirely, but it's definitely been done, and as the Rumble, you can kind of justify that to really leverage your early power. And then you're looking at just generally that damage, right, between the Rumble and the Victor and the Caitlyn. I'm trying to think what the jungle option was again now. I'm having a minor brain fart.
Go on. I'm letting you hang here. It's our first time together for a while.
Oh no, I've had to second guess myself. What am I doing? Jarvan's on the other side. No, there was Pantheon Jarvan. So which one? Pantheon. It's the Pantheon. There we go. Took me a second. Had to think it through. Didn't have the graphic up in front of me. I'm a visual learner. Dude, clearly, what am I doing?
I do it all of the time. But yes, you are fully correct in your assessment, and I feel again that will be the primary driver. I think priority is also going to be something that leans a little bit more in TL's favor, especially early on. But that can certainly bounce depending on, again, early jungle intervention realistically, and how those how the path things kind of come out. We've seen, especially from Inspired, though he's not here in the qualifiers today or at all, but anymore. He's been kind of trailblazing the smaller camp starts a little bit more. Kind of doing even weird things like Raptors into Wolves into Gromp, and then buff
ganking
Krugs.
or buffing back, all that stuff.
All these kind of even more nuanced paths where you stay out on the map for 8 camps, 9 camps, and you get this huge first base, and the tempo ramps up over time, and you build a big individual lead if the game looks slow and stable. That's something that, honestly, a Jarvan in this game might be able to do
I agree.
up until level 6.
And I think if you're looking over at LPL, LCK, so the other side of the world as well, there's been a lot of level 1 invades of wards onto things like the Raptors to really try and take fights to the enemy jungler, get that camp advantage. Because it feels like for all we have seen junglers able to get early kills, get early gold that way, they don't offer the same amount of experience. And so you end up often with these really big experience differentials for maybe like 100 gold lead if you go for the ganks early, or heaven forbid it goes the other way around and you get the kills and the early camp lead. You can end up with very, very significant experience and camp leads in general, or gold leads in general. Onto the Rift we go, though. So just eyes on those level 1 wards and whether we do get any of those interesting bits of pathing to work with.
Yeah, I like this prep here from Morgan, because Griffin has been looking for this ward a lot. Doesn't actually charge up the bush Q, but poke is poke, and Griffin is going to have to return back to his side of the jungle a little bit chunked out.
I agree on that one. We'll see exactly where they decide to go. Just wrapping towards that other side. Might be a blue buff start now, which is not the best option. And now, you can see Cryogen's already managed to get bush control here, so they can get a good level 1 Q. Core JJ, of course, has got that passive stacked. Always feels really nice. Does get that high note there onto the wave, and just fighting over the wave as expected. Ashe, Seraphine, Caitlyn Bard, both very able of fighting in these early levels. Barrier level 1 as well, really looking for it.
Take a look at Jose here, because he was dragging his blue buff down towards the river. They've got a ward on the Raptors, and having that defensive ward on his own Raptors, he's just going to cross straight over into the bot side of Griffin, and there is no defensive ward at all from FlyQuest.
They put wards on enemy Raptors, so either they invade now, or they're just going to be down caps.
Yeah, exactly. And Griffin, you know, by the fact that there's no pings going on, no adjustment of his pathing, doesn't seem like he knows, though there are a couple of pings now that potentially some shenanigans could be going on. Oh, but Cryo checked it too early, so now he doesn't know that Jose's on the Krugs. And now things are going to start getting really funky. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, level 2 is going to come on through. That makes things a little bit easier. Worth noting, Cryogen's already burned the heal, as has Cool JJ, so that might make things interesting. Now they know.
Yeah.
Where is that Pantheon? Does he want to go for the invade? Does he want to come fight? Because I think, realistically, he now has to go top, but he's trying to gank a Scion on the other side, and that's isolating bot lane, which is really scary stuff. Quid might be in danger here, I suppose, if he wants to take a wrap around through mid, but look where that Annie's leaning. No realistic way to get towards her as she does step towards where her jungler would be. Away from this, just playing it nice and safe.
Yeah, I mean, love this early pathing here from Jose Diodo, and this dive could be imminent. I mean, there is no barrier on Masu. He's running with a cleanse, so that health bar you see is well and true, and the heal is blown already for the trading, so just gonna have to miss this entire wave.
Oh, Cryogen, I'm not sure about this one, mate. It's going to be very, very good. They're going to miss that route initially. Still look for a bit of damage. Flash from Cryogen does get that started to the wall. CoreJJ flashes out, though, and doesn't die. I appreciate the attempt, though, Cryogen. Lead to anything, though, and the first blood does go the way of this action. Masu left in the 1v3. They redive him. The tower cools down. And so, unfortunately, does Masu's life.
Oh, man. I mean, what a horrendous start. You hear all of the time about Caitlyn lanes and how, you know, hey, just gank it once early, destroys the lane, right? And oftentimes the adaptation would be junglers would just do one camp and just sprint it and do a level 2 gank down here. This adaptation, however, Jose is level 3. He's completely split the map. And though Cryogen does his best, the stun doesn't connect onto Jose. Doesn't get him stunned up underneath the tower. They're able to let the tower heat come back down. Once the ramp is gone, there's no additional damage from those first couple of shots, and Jose is able to tank up 2 more for a cleanly executed dive. And TL, they get everything. Oh, even the kills. Both kills go onto Yeon, so it's not even like they're split in any capacity. Straight onto the carry here.
Yeah, Yeon's in such a good spot at this point. He gets the early Berserker Grease. He's going to outspace a little bit here as well, get more of that ranger's focus. Yes, basically, Jose's lost a camp's worth of clear here, which really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. He still gets one of those scuttle grabs. He's going to reset now and be very happy with the work he's done so far. And again, considering how important both of these bot lanes are to the success of their teams, putting Masu behind this early, getting that early lead for Yeon, and getting Core JJ, the ability to potentially get out on the map, should be pretty damn scary.
Should be indeed. We'll see. For Cryo as well, it can be flipped. If they can find a way, even after this dive, to kind of maintain some priority, because there is one thing to say about Yeon's base here, is that it is just a tier 2 boots double. And so there's no combat true combat stats that are just ramping up the AD. So if Masu and Cryo can try and play this at range, they can definitely still survive through the early horror that was that dive. And maybe it unlocks Cryo to try and impact the map a little bit more with Griffin as time progresses.
Let's see if they can turn that horror movie into a full-on franchise. Not quite there as yet, as Team Liquid actually at a spot up all there. There's a nice chunk there from Cryo and Masu, landing a nice headshot trade. Yon will try and trade back a little bit. The beat drop goes a little wide. Masu just not interested in Seraphine's music, I'm sorry.
This is what I was talking about, right? The trades can still go their way. It's not as if it is entirely one-sided. It's not, for intents and purposes, it's not like a Draven lane. Like, you die once to a Draven lane, he comes back with a BF sword at 4 minutes. It's like, okay, like, we don't get to play. It still does take a little bit of time to ramp. Yeah, hey. Really good trade.
Get a bit spicy. Yeah, there's the equalizer. Morgan, I think, is about to be set on fire. Flash forward. Where is Jose Theodo? Just over the wall. Can't quite get the burn. The problem is Gakos has now burned Flash, burned Teleport, and equalize things get spicy. Hang on, Griffin bot side. Shield vaults in, has to flash out. The dive doesn't work there. Jose can't find an angle onto the Rumble, though, but Gakos, having TP'd in, immediately has to back and do it all over again.
Yeah, action on both sides of the map. Gakos hits level 6 before Morgan is able to, and forces out the flash, can't quite find the follow-up kill because the shield comes up, and that flame spitter, when it's not in overheat mode, just doesn't deal too much damage as trades ultimates from both mid laners here. Just trying to trade out, trying to push out quad. Quid is, as down here, Cryogen's Q, the first one doesn't quite connect. It's a good fish just for a bit of poke, as then once the wraparound comes through for JJ Yeon, they get a little bit complacent. They think, okay, surely not a second time, right? Flash forward here, I think. No, just Raw able to connect to W, but then Cryogen a little bit out of range to be able to commit that Q and get that chain CC. Maybe a trap as well, and the kill could have been there. Nonetheless, still able to put down a lot of pressure on this TL bot lane.
They do, and they kind of get rid of a lot of that CS discrepancy. They don't get the kill, but they do get the flash. There is a world here, of course, where that could potentially be punished, especially as Griffin now has that level 6 Grand Star 4 is available. And if you can throw that star onto the head of a poor old Ashe, he may not have that much fun, it must be said. 90 caliber net, pilt over Peacemaker combo, always a bit obnoxious, and Yon pops that pot and goes, ow, why would you shoot me like this?
Yep, exactly. It's, again, can be very obnoxious. I'm expecting Griffin's first ult to either end up mid or bot here. I agree. Well, easy assessment to make. There's a Sion in the top lane. But
that's true.
More so just to say,
kill combo there, maybe. I suppose.
Yeah, maybe. You maybe if you want to try and get the Rumble going. But also just because of the volatility of this bot lane so far, I feel like Griffin really wants to get in the mix sooner rather than later. Again, but with the way that the trades have been going and the waves bouncing back and forth, TL have been able to find themselves a window to get this first dragon of the game. Now secure a Hextech Drake and get things stacking in their favor.
Indeed, they're up about 1,100 gold here in the early stages, which feels pretty good. My suspicion is that will be largely found around the bot lane. We'll look now at bring up the gold and have a glance on in. Indeed, Yon is leading the way with Quid just behind.
Yep, 3.3k for Yeon. Is up almost 1,000 gold on his counterpart at the minute.
That'll be the lead then.
Oh yeah, actually is the whole thing, isn't it? Just the entire thing is just everyone else is very much even. As grabs a spawn now, and you can see Cryogen is making his way towards that mid lane. Core a little bit apprehensive actually about moving across the map, so it seems like TL are just going to drop these. Maybe just the classic, hey, look for a fish on the third one from Jose, but not really willing to commit himself to a play. But it seems as though this will be the outcome here. Just very happy they got the Drake, play for all those camps and get the base soon. I would imagine that Jose ends up with his first item on this base,
can't be far
if
off,
not very, very close, just because of those 2 assists.
Yeah, that's going to be an extra couple hundred gold there, I completely agree. The Skull Crab spawning this side, a little bit frustrating for Jose, but he'll just deal with that one. Griffin trying to double camp there, very nicely done.
Oh, Griffin.
Start on the Skull. Oh, yeah. The moment I said that, that is... I said okay. Nicely done. That's how I jungle. That's what happens when I hit the rift.
Hey, look, it's okay. No one saw it, right?
No, I saw nothing. Yeah, I wear glasses for a reason, but I took them off. So, bot lane, hang on. That's the arrow burn. They really are looking quite. He's got some hot chocolate behind him though. Keeps him just about topped up. A couple hundred HP if that. But Masu and Cryogen are really going to have to reset here.
Yeah, they are. Very, very aggressive trading, and like you say, Cryo will just take his base. So at the end of the day, it's kind of no harm, no foul. There'll be a small window of Cryo here that maybe Yeon and Core get a nice base on, and As we hover over Griffin, I was actually looking at him on the minimap as that trade was going on, wondering if he was going to cast his first ultimate of the game. I do feel as though Pantheon, kind of against all of the other global junglers, I think, or just like global champions, whenever they talk about them, like, you know, the effectiveness of the first one kind of spells how the rest of the game is going to go. I feel like Pantheon bucks that trend just because of how well he specifically scales into so many games. So even if he can't find success on a first-time usage here, I still do expect him to have a high level of efficiency in this kind of game where he's got so much set up around him.
No, I completely agree. I think we've seen enough games at this point with Pantheon around the world, piloted by some of the very best junglers in the world, that the answer largely is if Pantheon gets the lead, he's able to just shield vault in and blow someone up and then press E and run away. Which just gets really obnoxious. And then the Grand Starfall's kind of almost a bonus, which is kind of crazy considering how potent a global ultimate is, especially from the jungle where you can hide your positioning so much more easily. Drop off vision. We'll look at the mid lane before JJ's around. Temper Fate lands and maybe turnarized to other members to stun after. But again, can't really lead to anything. So some nice skill shot accuracy from Cryo, but unfortunately, all he puts people into cryostasis, they're not really able to do much when they de-thaw. Wait, no, just thaw out. De-thaw would imply they just stay frozen. So, you know, I could have phrased that better.
I wasn't even going to point out the mistake. I was just going to let it slide. But being very self-conscious of our lexicon today.
Oh, the fancy words are coming out. I hear you.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a minute. All right, you know, gotta unrust the annals of my brain to make sure it still works properly.
So how does this casting thing work again? What do I do? Do I start yell into the microphone? Is that the general idea?
Yeah, exactly. But we're a minute away from Dragon, or a minute and 15 seconds. I would expect that T-Law really want to try and get the second one under their belt, just to try and apply a little bit of additional pressure. I don't feel like either team here is under some kind of big timer. I think they both scale into the game quite well, to the point where it will feel a lot more about execution than, hey, you know, Seraphine has hit the god tier Exodia items, or Victor is 3 items with a death cap, or whatever it may be. It will just come down to execution, and I think first move into the river is right now likely going to end up belonging, actually maybe to, no, it's going to end up going probably to T-Law. You can see on the minimap, Masu just based now, and he's walking out, whereas Yeon and Core are going to return to this bot wave a little bit sooner. So expect Core to just kind of hold this line. He knows where everyone is, and Jose will come and join him. But that bot wave prior, I think, is going to be key, and they can try and just put Quad off of his stable platform there in the mid lane and take control proper.
Look, first items are large in, but I think they're pretty scary here for T-Law in particular. Quid just coming around saying, I could be T-Law, Judge Dredd mode over here. Yes, I made that pun. It just makes me smile. What can I say? Towards the mid lane we look. No flash pulled. And for this moment, at this point, the sentencing will be postponed for a second or two. It's mid lane control that's being fought over. Griffin now coming on down. We can see him looking for the man drop. Here we go.
It's Core.
It is going to be jumped on the Encore comes across, magical journey, cataclysm, everyone's in the pit, what is going on? Oh my days, have you met my bad tippers? Yes, they have, they still get the kill though. Do FlyQuest, letting this out in the 2v3. Damage back though, as oh my dead, Jose Diodo picks up the double and quad. Might not be a quad, but a triple will do just fine, I think. He needs to try and run away, the flag comes down, they see where he's going, and instead, he'll donate it to his mid lane.
Could get this out, you know, Quid.
Hang on, stun. Here we go. Stop. Oh, he's out. He's actually out. They give up the option. He gets to mid lane. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Diodo, though, in that skirmish is the difference maker. Above all else, it looked very sketchy at first for T-Law. Like they were just going to lose Core JJ completely for free as they will now take that dragon. As you can see, Temper Fate comes down, and everyone just gets in the mosh pit. Everyone's just in the Cataclysm. I think everyone is stunned at the exact same time. Yeah. Staring at each other Mexican standoff style as health bars just kind of burn down between the Victor or the Tibbers AoE. But eventually it's that flag and drag, right? That big flag and drag out of that CC from Jose that makes the difference. They're able to chase down those kills, and Quid unfortunately isn't able to find that final pick off on Quad. He finds himself teleport out, and kind of a disaster for FlyQuest, all things considered. A 2,000 gold lead, 2 dragons now stacked in favor of T-Law as well. Is a Cloud Soul, which I feel like is actually kind of impactful this game in this weird sense. The movement speed, I feel, it's just going to be so difficult to deal with for some of these champions. And you think about dodging out of abilities, just the passive move speed that you get for dodging out of abilities, such as Mard Qs and ultimates, and even getting away from Pantheon. Additional level of Kai ability is super useful.
I agree. Also, even champions like Ash, right, love to play with that move speed differential with passive autos. Quad now gets caught briefly there with the decimating smash. Gonna lead to too much more. Morgan with the empowered shield courtesy of the top lane FlyQuest plus a Soul Furnace means he just has like 1,000 extra HP whenever he presses E. Slightly ridiculous. Wait, is it the W? I never remember. I'm sorry. Either way, I remember the name. It is the W. Okay, there you go.
It's a cool name. It's a cool name, Soul Furnace. I'm sure you've probably done the mental exercise of thinking about like the coolest ability names. I'm sure you've got like.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite ability name is Graviton Q on Aphelios. Binding Eclipse. There you go. Specifics.
Yeah. Do you know all of the names of the Aphelios Qs?
I do. Actually, I went and learned them all.
Ah. That's very
Not
you.
that relevant for this game.
That's very you.
I know. It's been turned out to be quite useful because Aphelios turned into quite a good champ. Not in this game right now, though, so we may have to hold on that, especially as the Herald is being started, and I suspect we might be getting a fight around it. So
this is window
using on
shopping.
ability names.
Nope, they're committing. They've got a TP coming.
They
Griffin.
are. Got hit by the arrow. There's the Tempered Fate, and the window shot suddenly gets smashed into. Gravity comes on down. The anti-stun is there, but Quid is dead regardless. A few quid in the back pocket now of that Pantheon. Quadrant finds a magical journey to Morgan's waiting hand. All the while, Yarn is left in a 1v1 with Griffin, who is waiting for that shield vault cooldown. Gatkos burns down another, and suddenly FlyQuest have found an incredible amount of kills. There's 4 members dead, and Morgan's about to be jumped on, has to flash away from Griffin, who came in with the Grand Starfall.
Yeah, I mean, the Herald is secure for T-Lore, I guess, but the fight whole-handedly goes in favor of FlyQuest, and it all comes down to the positioning, right? The pincer that kind of ends up forming off the back of that teleport was huge, and T-Lore's carries are a little bit too split. We get a look at it. The Herald again goes down in Jose Diodo's favor. Griffin gets stunned up by this Ash Arrow, but the Tempered Fate locks Quid in place. They are able to get a Chain CC down. He cannot move, but then you can see on the bottom side here, the Cataclysm comes down, but it's inside the reverse hotpot, right? Like you mentioned, Gatkos is the one burning down these frontliners. The top side, again, Seraphine split off away from Yeon, and even though Quad ends up falling to the T-Lore AD carry, doesn't matter if he gets run down in the end by Griffin, and the fight is just a bit chaotic, but again, just about formed enough for FlyQuest to take over.
It's going to be pretty significant. We've got a little ways until the next drag, minute and a half, but that probably will be our next port of call. Actually does give FlyQuest their first lead of the game, which is pretty significant. And look, while we've got fantastic grouped up 5, throw all the CC at the target in the AoE and blow people up that way, I think if it splits apart, you look at FlyQuest and you go, pretty much every member not named Bard is bringing a fairly significant amount of damage to the table. Whereas I think Team Liquid probably require a little bit more coordination in order to guarantee the kills, even if that coordination isn't particularly hard to pull off with the comp per se.
Hey man, don't sleep on Bard damage. You know, that
Look,
champ deals an obnoxious amount of damage sometimes.
He's got a slay, he doesn't have claws.
Yep, it's true. No, probably won't be a Leandre's either. Classic solo queue build as Quad is being eyed up for a second, but we'll just turn around. Not really interested in any kind of battle down there. Maybe not any information on where Griffin is, and kind of wondering, maybe that ultimate's back up. It's kind of in that window where if you're not tracking it second by second, you start to wonder. The Griffin is basing now. Should have a substantial amount of gold, and he has magical footwear. Will he have 2 items? He will. He will have that cleaver. So we'll have that over Jose.
That's big. That's big. That's what you get for picking up that extra bit of farm. And of course, there is the Herald in inventory for Jose, so we'll have that ability to drop down the battering ram and play Battle Herald, which has kind of become the way to use the Herald these days after the likes of Hacker and crew were using it as escape vehicles. People kind of realize, wait, I can use this in battle rather than just to take a couple plates here or there. That's proven very potent. It is Liquid in the river first, looking to contest here for their 3rd dragon, which could be pretty significant soul point. Towards the mid lane we look.
Yeah, wave control belongs to FlyQuest, and T-Lore don't want to disrespect that. They know they could easily get pitched on Cryo.
There's a potential bit of danger. They're going to throw down that Cataclysm after the Encore came on through, but it's Spencer Jose who needs to flash away. Gets into the Herald to immune the CC. Flash in for Quid, throws out to Disintegrate. And Masu is left dead in the dirt. The Sheriff of Piltover is handing in her badge. Griffin has the shield run out. The Equalizer comes on down, and Gatkos has to flash. But will survive. The problem is the rest of the team ain't looking so happy. The solo lane's alone. A FlyQuest stand. Everyone else is in a 6-foot hole.
That Herald play from Jose ended up being huge. I was questioning, you psycho, why flag and drag in after the Cataclysm at that point? But the Herald comes down, is able to get back in it and ride it through the rest of FlyQuest. Like you said, the Battle Herald comes to fruition, and the flanks come in from Morgan, from Quid, and do so much work. This tower is going to fall, and that third dragon is going to be secured as we get another look at this initial engage. And it just feels too forced from Cryo, right? Tempered Fate goes completely wide. Through the tunnel, the Mikhails as well to cleanse Griffin to try and get him onto a key target is just so much force. But again, the side of the fight pressure from Quid comes in, drops the Tibbers with that flash, and so much work. On top of Morgan finding the frontliners with the ultimate has come out of the replay. I thought we came out a little quick. I was wondering, are we just getting straight up fist fighting?
I was a bit worried.
my spider senses were tingling, but we are just resetting back to neutral for the time being, with T-Law holding those 3 dragons and a 2,000 gold lead.
Let's look at those stats. Good damage, and you've just got to keep firing forward. But the people who were in it was a sign of the jar. But we'll have to hold, though, as Quid has been jumped on. We're going to find multiple members here, though. Core is left stunned up. Tempered Fate doesn't quite catch on, who it just avoids going golden. Jose threatening, but will not go further forwards. FlyQuest find the one, but not anymore.
This is really what FlyQuest need to do, though. They need to try and catch TL when they're a little bit asleep at the wheel. They're in between rotations, waves. Someone's just slightly too far away from one of their buddy-up partners, and just try and catch them with a Griffin ultimate, a Tempered Fate. Just do that on repeat. If they try and run into them face first or head first, it's going to be a little bit difficult, like we've seen in some of these exchanges. But the second that you run away from that front to back formation, things can look a little bit more Fly favored.
Yeah, ready for the roller coaster, Jamatic, because the gold graph has been pretty wild this game. We've been going up and down and up again, as it was looking pretty good for Liquid until basically there was that horrible fight in the river and they had to bring themselves back in. Very, very back and forth, but once again Liquid find themselves in command of the game. Did have control of the river as well, which has forced FlyQuest to go into this top side and to say, hey, you know you've got the Scion, but don't be aware you could potentially do the Baron. They're TPing in now as well. Wait, that's turning into something a little bit more. Yon is just dead. Full send from FlyQuest, and now hang on, they're the ones in control of the top side of the map, and they might look at the Nash.
Yeah, I mean, they've got more than enough damage to do this at this early juncture. TL can still find an angle. FlyQuest have to be a little bit concerned. Quad is off on the side. They're trying to just poke them out best they can.
Gakos on the Baron, they pull off. Tempered Fate is well wide, looking to see whether someone stepped the other direction. Through the magical journey they'll go, but the only magic they really find is a mid lane bush, and that's not very exciting in the grand scheme of things. I've definitely seen more magical journeys. Gakos is still eating a lot of damage from the Baron, got stunned up there by Morgan, so half the health bar of the Rumble's now gone, and that makes things a little dicey. Mid lane turret standing for both teams, but it's looking particularly precarious there for FlyQuest. Jose just stopping some backs. He might do it again, and Masu's forced to delay his reset one more time.
Won't in the end now. But again, yeah, I love this vision toggle from the observers, because it really does highlight just how dark things are in the river itself. But they will likely take this tower. It is quite low. Masu has to yield. Same thing for Quad, waiting in the wings. And they will secure that tier 1, so a little bit more control. And with 90 seconds left until that final dragon, potentially, for the T-Law spawns up for that soul, that could mean very advanced priority, and again, a dark river that FlyQuest are going to have to walk into.
Yeah, those are some murky waters, make no mistake about it. I'm also very scared of this bottom. Look, finally got the Infinity Edge done. That's great news, but it was 1.5 items to 2.5, and I fear that Yon, with those items in inventory, is not miles off an Infinity Edge of his own.
No, he shouldn't be. Shouldn't be in at all. I reckon maybe, if not the next back, then the back after. So while they won't necessarily have it right this second, I would imagine, still, after that dragon fight, should be terrifying. And this is definitely a much higher DPS build than I feel like we tend to get out of some Ashes as well, so looking to shred, and with no true tank, it gets scary, man. It gets real scary.
It does. And again, hang on, Jose Diodo's over the wall here, so I'm just going to hold on discussing Ash build for a second or two, because I think action is just brewing. And again, this is a very dark jungle to run into. Quads! Flagged and dragged, tried to rocket belt away, but here comes the steam train. Morgan denied any opportunity to escape. The flag and drag after, and Masu follows the rest of his team into the dirt. Cryogen needs to run out. Gakos throwing out some electro harpoons, but the only thing he's hooking is a mighty old Scion. I don't think you're pulling that whale out of the ocean.
Horror face check. Oh, what can you do in that kind of situation? It's going to turn into a Nash. look here. And I mean, it's just a good angle from Jose as well at the end of the day. But again, this is what we was talking about. With this tower being down, it's so much easier to just slip into the side, get a little bit more vision control, and it leads to this. Griffin's barely able to cast a Zia at a time where he could even survive. Just in a couple of extra seconds. Nash is gone. I love this man out the replay.
Where is it gone?
Where is the worm gone, guys?
Lord Morgan has turned up and demanded fealty from the lesser aristocrat is what happened, guys, and he's there. And actually, now there's a fight over this dragon, but the thing is, FlyQuest do have command of the river right now. Maybe they can look to take this moment before things like the Baron shoves can really put a nail in the coffin here. We're going to have one more roll of the dice.
That we will. Ultimates still need to come up. It's a lot of back and forth right now. Griffin takes a massive chunk, but the dragon will be started up here by T-Law.
Banana Bush comes on down, and arrow comes on down, immediately cleansed from Masu, who does have that one. Captain Jack's it on the other side, though. Damage onto Quad, who is just not having a good day. The Cataclysm is there. They do manage to burn a little bit back. Hang on. Masu got to survive for once, and maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. Morgan has been dethroned into the zombie form he goes, and 2 down on both sides, junglers both included, so no smite available. And Gakkos just set everyone on fire.
Exactly, I was about to say, it might feel a little bit difficult to see, but this is all Gakkos. This is his damage.
Whoa.
And finds the shutdown and the flash out of yield.
That's Dragon for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Quid? Careful.
Sure?
Fate, he's dead. That should be a trap on his feet.
That's the Baron gone. They've lost every member but Core, and the death timers are staggered. They can turn this into Dragon. The gold lead goes back down to 1800. I pulled up the gold graph a little earlier, guys, but I imagine it's just going to be even more of a flipping roller coaster. It is looking like a heart attack out here in EWC Quals, and I tell you now, that was Team Liquid's game to lose, and they just handed the ball right over to FlyQuest in a burning platter to Gakkos.
Really big give up of possession of control of this game right now. We'll see what they can do to try and navigate the game with this much additional gold. I could be wrong, and maybe I missed it in his inventory. I think Gakkos just based and bought a whole Shadow Flame.
He did.
Like, just
that was just a one-shot Shadow Flame. Yeah. That is worrying. That is worrying. For the squishy members especially of T-Law. I'm not gonna lie. But that's the majority of them. Like, even the Jarvan's not exactly what you call a tank. So the answer is everyone. I also note Quid has gone back and bought an Actualizer, by the way, on the Annie, which is quite good fun. Looking to try and get some real damage out of the initial burst combo, I would guess. But not a usual item on Annie, at least to my knowledge, unless I've missed a trick there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not something that we see often on any champion whose name isn't Rise. But I do feel like this item is just super underexplored overall. So many champions are building mana items, like mid laners, right? And so many of them, especially in mid right now, are based on, hey, can I drop a whole combo on a carry's head and will they die? And what does Actualizer's, item kind of play into the gameplay loop of exactly that? So I'm kind of thinking we'll see this more on a few other champions. Annie is definitely one of them.
The only two I get with it. Yeah, so I could see it on the Annie too. I completely agree.
And even those guys,
it's
weird.
Vibe.
Even those guys is weird, because, like, sure, I feel like Anivia, you can say, has burst damage if you kind of get face check. Same thing for Cassio, but hold on, Cryogen. Ooh. Captain Jax the McHales.
Very nice.
Oh, well, but you can't unpass that.
Griffin, are we sure? You might be named after that winged monster, but you immediately get clipped out of the sky. The equalizer is solid, but the problem is Core's right behind him. He hasn't all the shield. Gakkos goes down. The rumble's not there. The Cataclysm, the healing from that sundered sky is disgusting, and Jose survives. That's got to be illegal. Quid flashes, disintegrates another. Cryo is down. They do get traded, but the root lands onto Quad. Masu and Quad survive, but the rest of the team looking a bit dicey. I think you take the 3-for-1 there as Liquid, who managed to right the ship one more time.
Yeah, with no objectives on the map, this shouldn't necessarily lead to anything too detrimental for either team. That said, in this weird way, I'm going to kind of play lawyer for Griffin. Cryo did Captain Jack an Ash Arrow, right? And he probably did just press R the second that it hit him. I guess it'll be hard to see. Like, looking at the minimap, he stops the exact frame, and I'm assuming that's when he starts casting the ult. That Cryo gets hit, so he just wants to back up his teammate, doesn't realize that Cryogen is just going to take the pool and leave, and it leaves him in a very vulnerable spot. However, again, we've mentioned a couple of times now how fights will just look very poor if they are in a front-to-back formation. Yes, this is kind of an extreme 4v5 situation, But nonetheless, you can see how Yeon, if he's allowed to just hit the target star in front of him, if Quid is allowed to pick and choose who he gets to stun, the fights look very, very simple for T-Law.
There is the damage from that last team fight, and yeah, Masu did a fair amount, but he's hitting people like the Scion. Arrow lands, there is no Mikhail's quite around this time, just about escapes there. Got a little bit dicey, but I guess the Ash arrow not quite that potent from that close range, especially into the Merc treads, and so manages to escape. Garkos, though, was theoretically at threat, manages to back away down that bot, but he gets out just fine. But now the jungle is just littered with red wards, and who really wants to face check here from FlyQuest? Because I suspect the answer is no one.
Yeah, it's kind of Griffin's duty, you know. Hey,
go on,
he's
jungler.
got the Aegis Assault. You can just go in invulnerable
got a GA.
for a little bit. Yeah, he's got a GA.
You can lose that for a ward, right? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that sounds alright.
That sounds like really good value.
Maybe a Tempered Fate will save.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. Potentially very valuable there. But again, that is always going to be one of the issues you run into with FlyQuest, especially from this position where the control is quite limited. Don't have the best front line. Got a lot of damage, a lot of zone control, but don't know where to place that zone control and that damage. There's another matter entirely. Baron's just spawned. At least the Scuttle Crab is uncontestable vision for maybe 30 seconds or so. Got a couple far side alterations to work with on Quad and Masu. Did have to double check myself which foul it was between Quid and Quad. They are out there to get play-by-plays. I tell you, teleport into the mid lane.
Just jostling for position right now. That trap line is going to make things a bit awkward for TL to cross back over. What?
Look, hang on, Cataclysm. We are going to look for a bit more. Flag and drag back out. Gargoyle's playing with Morgan, but it means the two top laners aren't here. Quid gets slowed down, looks for the stun, and it's going to get eviscerated. Griffin jumps on with the shield for Jose needs to back away. Morgan also being split off, and I think Liquid needs to run. This ain't looking so good this time around. The ult comes on time. The burn is indeed there. Barbecued Scion from downtown.
Yeah, able to pick him off. This, the walk of shame always feels bad when you're playing Scion. You just die in some very isolated position on the map somehow from range. Try to make it to a wave, want to stay alive a little longer. But again, this fight is going to result in this dragon going down. Being picked up and delaying Soul yet again.
We are now 31 minutes into the game. Soul's been denied twice in a row. The gold is near enough even, what, 300 gold apart, 31 minutes. I consider that as close to even as it's going to get realistically. And I now get a little bit nervous because I'm looking at this Caitlyn, 3.5 items, looking at this Victor, who is scaling well. And again, there are some very good late game carries here. Baron is started. Liquid, you need to come and contest now.
It's got to be a flip, right? Jose's just going to have to go. TP's coming in from Quid.
5 times denied. They are going to look for Grand Starfall. Flash away from Yon, but he's in a 1v5. The flag and drag comes across. It's not bad. The Tempered Fate. The Equalizer is a little bit suspect. Quid is now trying to get some damage down. And Jose Dioda does kill off Quad. Griffin, they're running at core. There's the GA.
Morgan.
Back alive. In comes Morgan. Doesn't really land as much as he's hoping for. Masu does get that kill, though, onto the job. And he was looking to Cataclysm there. But he dies mid-flight. Griffin, with his own GA to work with, gets rooted briefly there by one part of the beat block. But I spoke a little bit of a lie. We pull away. Quad down, health bar's a little bit dicey, and I think FlyQuest will be dissuaded from starting Baron, at least right now. We'll get the replay all the way back to the start of the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, Quad, this is just crazy. Rocket belts forward. To drop his combo on Core and Yeon, it does work. The Equalizer actually ended up not being too bad. It did push out Quid and chunk him out significantly, but it was all about what was going on inside of that mosh pit, right? Tempered Fate. Jose actually dies mid-Cataclysm. Doesn't find it onto Masu. I don't feel like that damage would have been enough to finish off the FlyQuest AD carry, but still something meaningful that, again, had it connected, maybe Morgan can play the extended, but as we come out of the replay, speaking of extended, Baron is being taken down by FlyQuest, and
do they know?
Single jungler is in Narnia.
Oh,
this one of FlyQuest Baron.
It's straight over. I was about to put on the dancing shoes and get ready for another waltz around the Baron. It doesn't happen. FlyQuest don't need a partner, and they will quite happily take the Baron this time. Liquid instead are going to say, right, we shove through mid and try and get as many of these waves shoved as we can. So we've got a couple minutes until the Dragon, so they can't even force FlyQuest to fight over that this time around. Starting to get an interesting state of affairs. Tempered Fate catches the Ash. Yon in danger, just about gets out. But look at the side! The flanking Victor, the Equalizer. Ash melts under the full fury there as Gakos gets the Equalizer Flame Spitter and the Equalizer damage down to Quid, who just about survives with a little bit of healing from Core JJ. The Seraphine is doing their best to keep everyone topped up. The problem, of course, is they've lost their AD carry, they've lost their top laner, and a 5v3 now, they've got to defend against the Baron, and these resets may well be delayed even further, as Cryo is looking to stop this Seraphine getting back to base. Look in the mid lane on the minimap, that Caitlyn is going to be shoving with the team to get as many turrets as she can.
You know, earlier on, I was going to make a joke about how I felt like Cryo was really swinging and missing on some of these bard abilities, but right there, I think he may have just made the play of the match, or at the very least set it up, so that FlyQuest can now utilize this dash, break open the base of T-Law, do some serious damage to this game with Ernest on this tier 2 as well. They're just getting so much gold off the back of this. I think this is the headline of that fight. Yes, they pick up those kills, but getting the mid lane inhibitor, getting the tier 2 on the bottom side. You can see it on the bottom side of your screen there. Almost a 4k gold advantage now. All of that comes pretty much off the back of that fight.
Yeah, there's a little bit there for the side of Liquid at about that kind of 25-minute mark, but it has swung absolutely the other direction. About an 8k gold swing across the last 10 minutes or so, which is pretty significant, I think it's fair to say. Now we can look into these inventories a little bit further. Both AD carries are looking pretty damn fed here, but I'm starting to get to the point where the Annie's going to struggle to kill someone and then survive the fallout, whereas I'm looking at Rumble at 4 items. This Victor is edging towards what I suspect will be a death cap now. 4th. We've got the 4, make that 5 items on the Caitlyn. That's just a lot of continual DPS. And yes, maybe the front line isn't the strongest, but my god, is the damage there right now for FlyQuest.
Yeah, it really is. And even, you know, I'm typically very quick to criticize Victor builds. I think a lot of the time they're very vegan. Victor is still getting to a point where his damage is meaningful, and if the Arcane Storm, the ultimate, I think it's called Arcane Storm anyway. Hey, Pantheon.
We're going to try and jump in. The CC's good, but Yon is just immediately set on fire. And they'll throw down the Cataclysm, but the only world that ending is Team Liquid's. Quid managed to rocket belt out of the Tempered Fate, but they've just lost their jungler. They've just lost their AD carry. Yon was the guy who started the game 2-0, and he's just been sent down to the 9th circle. To the Nexus turrets they go. FlyQuest looking to end game 1 right here, right now. Quid goes in, gets the stun, but the bear is de-stuffed immediately. TP in from Morgan to try and defend the base, but it's still a massive man disadvantage. The Scion tries, he's caught in a gravity field, he's sucked into the black hole of death. FlyQuest finds the comeback, and in 36.5 minutes, win game 1.
Wholesale team effort from FlyQuest. Everyone was involved in making sure that that ended up being a turnaround game, right? Because remember, TL had so much control of pretty much everything they wanted. Dragons, gold, kills on the carries. It just ends up being the situation where it takes 1 or 2 picks. FlyQuest get a Nash, able to play off of a small misposition. Cryogen finds that Tempered Fate. And in the end, I just kind of feel a bit bad for Yeon, because he's been done in by some pretty high-level execution plays where he wasn't even doing anything particularly egregious, right? The mid-wave, even that final fight, it was just, hey, you stepped outside of your base?
I think he touched grass with like a toe, if that. There was stone still on his back foot, and it just didn't matter. And a serious credit then also over to FlyQuest for not giving up, for being so relentless, for managing to not just let the dragons go, for punishing things like the Baron. And Masu started this game, what, down 2 kills to Yon, who was massively ahead. Gatghost as well was also struggling pretty heavily there, and he's now come up with a monster set of damages there as well, which is pretty damn good work. And you got to give credit to them. I'm remembering that first round matchup, and FlyQuest, at the very least here, have made Team Liquid bleed in that first game. Yeah,
very, very big hit to take if you're TL, just because of, again, the nature of this team has been one of very much confidence in many, many aspects of their play, built through Jose Diodo in particular, who, after having a pretty loud early game, the late game, again, just kind of muted by all of these plays that ended up not going in their favor in these 5v5s.
Well, much like the teams, we're going to take a quick breather, because after that absolute barnstormer, we need to reset and get ready for our second game. FlyQuest lead the series, but I suspect Team Liquid will have something to say about it. We'll find out after the break. Well, break time's over and we're back on the road, specifically the road to EWC here in North America for the qualifiers for LoL. Lower bracket finals are already underway and have been going pretty hot and heavy, specifically with FlyQuest getting a comeback win in a very, very back and forth game one there against Lick. We've got ourselves some replays to go through, and I suspect they're going to be some spicy ones. This was that initial moment where Liquid's lead began to get a bit interesting. They split their targets, and FlyQuest just have more damage to work with.
Yeah, it was just so, I suppose, frustrating from the perspective of TL, right? Just because so many of these circumstances felt very, very avoidable, but also you can only really credit FlyQuest for looking at these opportunities and climbing straight through the window, right? Like just throwing a brick through it and climbing in. Forcing the issue whenever it made sense. That Herald play, like we just looked at, one of those scenarios. But again, just looking at picks, right? Finding picks, finding people out of position, and executing on that is such a big deal for this FlyQuest team. We've heard the comms throughout LCS where they will be behind, and it will be somebody like Griffin, despite the young player he is, just being like, hey, let's calm down, take a breath, assess the game. And it felt as though that was a lot of what was going on here in between these skirmishes.
Yeah, because let's be real, we were chatting in the green, we were saying like what we really need to hit on is how FlyQuest spent so much time and effort, and successfully so, in taking Yon's head off on repeat in so many of these fights. It was so difficult for this Ashe that started with such a lead to play out the game. Griffin and the equalizers from Gatgos were so dangerous, and actually, you were kind of saying it, Cryogen, as the game went on, really started to get his eye in and hitting these big tempered fates. Yeah,
Cryo, you know, I was thinking about all of the different Bardo TPs that I know, like people like Lathyris or Polypop, and I'm just thinking, maybe we need to get Cryo on these videos. Like, let him learn a thing or two. But man, did he start to just show up big time towards the back end. His Tempered Fates, his Cosmic Bindings were the things that really started off. You know, this was the main play that really set things completely in motion for us. Then come to this final pick again. Yeon, just play safe, mate. You know?
Oh, yeah, all right, that's the idea. No, just stand in the fountain. Just stand in the fountain, that's fine.
Look, you step past your Nexus towers. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. You know?
The thing is, I know Adrian's being facetious. I know he is. And yet somehow still within me, this sort of slight simmering rage at the sort of solo queue advice is still there. Because really, what are you supposed to do? And again, you have drafted for this kind of death ball, right? You've got Jarvan, you've got Sion to be this big front line with a Seraphine behind you. The Annie threatening CC on anyone who dives in is supposed to be the idea. But how often did we see there a serious issue in terms of like, okay, Morgan's now at a 1v1 with this Rumble, so the Sion is not there. Jose's gone one direction to get some CC, and the front line, this death ball kind of breaks apart into component pieces, and FlyQuest were really able to tear apart that kind of individual moment.
Yeah, again, I really want to credit FlyQuest's ability to recognize, hey, Yeon's out of position. Hey, maybe Jose isn't in a spot where he can actually peel the backline and just slamming the go. Well, I was gonna say the go button, but it almost felt like I was gonna say breaks. Anyway, on every opportunity, even the one by the chicken pit, right, where Cryo self-captain jacked with the Mikhails. Even though Griffin kind of sent it a bit hard, it just goes to show, hey, these guys really are trusting of one another to follow up. Even though, again, that was a play where maybe that didn't quite go the way FlyQuest wanted, they still turned around, tried to find things off the back of Griffin going in like a madman. So that will always be the strength to me of this FlyQuest lineup. Their willingness to just lean on each other and go, hey, yeah, this is the play. Go, 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 go. And again, recognizing those windows.
Because there is something like, this goes back to a lot of teams we've seen over the years. I remember people like teams like OMG 2023. I'm reminded of teams like Moscow 5 way back in the day. I'm reminded of the G2 2019. I'm reminded of Cloud9 at their heights as well. Sometimes there is an art to saying, we may not be on the right page, but we are on the same page. And that often goes a lot further than necessarily being exact about the correct move to make. As long as you all do it together, it can become a correct move, especially if teams aren't necessarily as coordinated or at least as bought into the play as you might be, and that can be a really good way to find your way back in. And if nothing else, FlyQuest buy in. They do that every game, day in, day out, for better or worse. And again, sometimes it did come back to bite them, and we saw some slight misplays earlier on that left Liquid with some good advantages of their own. I think they're going to be kicking themselves, because realistically, that mid game, there's no way they should have been letting that go. But the fact that around a couple big objectives, there are a couple big jungle invades, they gave up so many kills, they gave up so many options back for FlyQuest, has got to be haunting them a little bit here.
Yeah, I think the bottom line with the TL draft, even though it isn't inherently a bad one, is that they can lack damage over time, specifically because it was entirely coming through the Ashe, entirely coming through the bot lane carry, and Annie really only kind of offers that upfront burst, and then it's just,
Actualize
hey,
Rodrigue,
yeah, you know, can I find a stun afterwards to set up for Ashe to have more space? How much work is Morgan doing? Because I guess Sion can deal a little bit of damage, but it's not the same as, hey, my name's Rumble, here's an overheat flame spell, here's an equalizer that's, you know, dealing 1000 damage over 5 seconds or more. So that was really, I feel like, where TL fell short. They weren't able to kill off those high value targets immediately. And again, when there's 3 of them, effectively, maybe 4 if you want to count the Pantheon as well, very difficult to navigate if you're not just getting that standard front-to-back team fight to dictate the pace of how those fights are going to go.
Yeah, still waiting on draft here a second. Don't worry about that. This is a little bit of a ruse. It's not going to be us moving in quite yet. We'll be there very
We're being
shortly.
pranked.
We're being pranked. Production to give us a heads up at least.
Yeah, they
It
did.
wasn't
They
just
did.
like
They
thrown
did.
at us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would definitely have made a decision we're going to draft there, and I would have been wrong. But that's not quite true. And again, we are in this position where I liked a lot what Liquid's draft was supposed to be in terms of like, look, great from the back, Seraphine, but I have to wonder about the Annie. Like, if you want the Sion, you want the Jarvan, I think I just needed something with a little bit more consistency from the mid lane. Like, I get that the Annie is great CC, great for a burst, gives you that kind of additional bit to that kind of like pick chain with the Jarvan that did get them some early stuff. Remember that initial Cataclysm that feels like an hour ago or so now, right over by the river, that first big 6-man Cataclysm that seemed to come on down. Like, that was partly off the Annie finding good stuff, but as the game went on, I think he did just struggle to get as much value down. Whereas actually, you know, look, on the other side, that Victor, yeah, not the easiest time, but just got to the point where it's a level 16 Victor. All of the upgrades are in. You are just going to pump out damage, and that's kind of what he did.
Yeah. Again, so many carries, very hard to really play the game if you aren't murdering almost 2 of them off of an Annie combo with Jarvan. We'll see how things are navigated this time out by Team Liquid. I'm actually not sure because we just didn't check with production. I'm not sure what the conventions are for draft. Like, FlyQuest are on the left side, does that mean they're on blue side, even though they're first pick? I can't remember how it all lined up in the first draft.
So it was, despite being blue, it's more like the LPL style where they have decoupled side and like first pick. FlyQuest were on blue side, but they did get the second ban. They had counter pick. Counter pick because they were the one. I'm pretty sure. Yes.
It seems like we will get traditional sides, basically, is what I'm gathering from what's on our screens. I mean, hey, you know, everyone else has been doing it for months. They still get confused. So I've
definitely been very authoritative there, and I'm just going to go and trust that my memory is correct. If it's wrong, no, you're all wrong, and my version of reality is the right one. Yeah, that's how this works, guys. I have that power to make that call.
That's good. That's very good.
A
couple of bans already in. Rise Redacted there for FlyQuest. TL going with the Orianna ban. Curiously, I think that Karma ended up being absent last draft entirely. I'd have to double check. It was either completely absent or the final ban, and that's why I'm not remembering it. Because I remember thinking to myself, surely Karma has to get banned. And then there were so many things up, I kind of ended up being a bit distracted. But Lucian also joins the ban bench. And now you start to wonder, where exactly are TL going to go here? Because you think about, again, the Varus. Do you want to trade that, right? In the LCS, that has a 80, not an 83%. Is that what it would be? It's 5-1. Trying to do the mental mess in my head.
That's pretty good. I think 83 sounds about right, but I won't pretend to it. My mental arithmetic is not the best. I could pull up a calculator, but guys, I'd rather look at the draft. Know that it is a large number. Is most
number big. Number big.
Not the ban I was expecting because Varus is still available. Yeah, we're very intelligent gentlemen. That's what we're finding out from this. But the Varus is up. Could be locked in here. And it makes it for a very easy lock-in. Again, I'll put this out there. There is Gat Kostov who does love his carries. There's even a world where he gets flexed. You know, there is always that possibility to move that Varus around. Again, it's not a regular thing, but it is a known flex. We'll keep our eyes on it. The response, though, is a very quick Nico lock-in.
Yeah.
Maybe something like the Nocturne. Nocturne turns out the light, makes it a lot harder to spot a Nico, especially if she's a random object or champion or minion.
Yeah, and now Yeon has a bunch of options in terms of what he wants to pilot. Of course, what Fly decide to lock in as what I'd expect is a support matchup, followed by the jungle, and you just kind of match it 1-to-1 as to not show too many things. Yeon could go things like the Kai'Sa, he could go things like the Ezreal if he wants to try and match a little bit of lane and range, and Bessa being hovered and so late in. I expect Griffin will snap that up, and again, more flexibility kind of just added to the pile here, just because Gatkos very well could end up playing this Varus just because of the flexibility of the champion.
If they want it, but this is, again, it's a little bit more of an Eastern combo, but the Vi along with the Ambassador is always a really, really dangerous combo, because the Vi point and click means that the Ambassador never misses a ult. You get that kind of cease and deceased combination of ults, gets quite scary. Debating a Nami here, I mean, can be good with the Ambassador in terms of that team fight front to back. You can follow up wherever she goes, and obviously with the Varus, does that, I suppose it could imply an on-hit Varus here, theoretically.
I mean, the beauty of this is the Ambessa and the Varus can go anywhere, right? The Nami is an acceptably good matchup into the Nico no matter what the AD matchup is. And now that you know it's Jhin, if there is something on your mind as Masu that you would like to take, and Morgan, you know, these kind of range tops or answers into a Varus are potentially banned away, could set up for that to occur. For the time being, though, TL likely to just try and ban mid laners that they don't have to play into and that they don't want to pick right now. Just simply because the flexibility kind of kills off banning away anything with full certainty, so they remove away Quads Cassio, very big staple for him. Maybe something like the Anivia comes through, just because it could be a very stable answer into a wide variety of picks. And again, I expect Morgan is going to be getting R5 here, given the draft state that FlyQuest are currently in.
That would make some sense. I think I agree, especially because Gatkos does love to potentially pull out something a little bit spicy, as does Griffin for that matter. It's partly why we're kind of expecting the Ambassador to go jungle, but that flexibility just has us wondering a touch here.
It's crazy that Griffin was playing this before it was buffed in the jungle. It got buffed. People started picking it up kind of sparingly, right? Like the other big names are effectively like... I feel like Rilech is the only other jungler in Tier 1 that's really made a name for himself on the Ambessa. Maybe
Tarzan
someone else like like Tarzan, right?
Guys where,
like they all dabble, but I don't feel like they've played it to the same level of efficacy that these two specifically had. And ridiculous. Even now that it's nerfed, Griffin still loves this champion, and it is still very much a powerful champion at that. Again, we've waxed lyrical about his ability to play it, and for good reason. I'm kind of itching to maybe get to cast it. I hope that he ends up on it. As again, those mid lane bans have continued to fly through. And even though it is TL with the Nocturne, they ban away the Galio. They don't want to have to deal with it. Maybe the lights, you know, come back on. Things are a bit hectic. Bang. Hero's entrance. So not really happy to play into the big gargoyle in the mid lane.
And you've really drafted for a lot of upfront burst, right? Nico, Nocturne, Jhin following up from 30 miles away as the artillery piece. And now you've got the Ahri as well. We see what the plan is here from Liquid. It's pretty well kind of signpost at this point. It is dive, it is pick.
Dude, I feel like if Quad plays Lissandra here, it feels so good. You're playing into dive.
Dude, you're not wrong.
As Liss versus Ahri, you get to just ult the first target. You've also got a... Like, there is so much turn potential with that pick. I hope it's on them, on their radar.
Fire build.
I like this though. This is also another alternative where you get to skirmish incredibly well, especially again if this Ambessa ends up jungle, which we'll have that answer in a moment's time. And so many powerful ults still. The Nico ult, the Ahri for the resets, Nocturne as well for attacking the side lanes. There's not really a bad option right now. As Gatkos, is it going to be a tank? Is it going to be a carry? I imagine something maybe like an Ornn. You could get away with it. Yeah. I feel like...
I mean, theoretically, there's still a bit of a flex here. They could take the Mundo. That likely puts the Sylas mid, the Ambessa top.
Yeah, that it does. And where does Morgan want to go? I feel like I have
chatted
actually...
to a few
analysts. I was about to mention this.
It's one of those ones that people have been surprised they've not seen.
That's not a fake cover. Gwen would make a little bit more sense. Even a Camille, to be honest with you, if you'd really like to go that route. Jax, of course, also we've seen so many times. And it's going to end up getting locked in. So a lot of side lane pressure with the Jax and the Ahri and the Nocturne. And not really too much in the area of globals to match it from the side of FlyQuest. So definitely need to be careful in the mid game about their positioning. And they really have to be on top of their game in terms of making sure they're matching sides without leaving themselves vulnerable to those overloads by TL.
He's only played the one Jax game so far this year, but it is one of his more played champions. I think something like 33 games all times, but a lot of effort into it. So some mixed success, but then again, Morgan has been on some varying levels of teams, which always does impact those kind of win rate percentages, so I wouldn't judge that too harshly. Remember his hands being pretty solid on it. It's another option where to dive in with the Nocturne, to be a flanking threat, to have a lot of mobility. Basically, everyone not named the Jhin is quite capable of being very mobile in some capacity, and the Jin's able to follow up from miles away with the W and the R anyway, so I think Liquid's plan is pretty signposted here.
Yep, I agree. There's not really much to report on from the TL draft. I think we'll do what says on can, you know, keep it simple. And I feel like, especially now that Spawn is there in LA, you will see a lot of this kind of rebuild in terms of confidence game to game, where if something maybe doesn't go their way, the draft, I won't ever really expect it to look super, what's the word, complex,
wonky.
off the back of, or wonky, right? I don't think I'm going to go for anything super particular, basically. And for the side of FlyQuest, again, you look at the Ambessa, ends up going in the top lane, which I'm kind of surprised about, but Mundo into Nocturne, you can definitely see a bit of a tempo difference. What I would be very curious to see is the level 1, and if there's going to be a strange invade, because that can definitely make Mundo's life a little bit weird. If he doesn't get to just kind of clear in sequence, that's when things look a little bit different.
Dicey,
in terms of his ability to hit level 6 on a good timer. And the same thing can be said for Nocturne, right? If the camps aren't kind of traded blow for blow, 1 for 1. So maybe it's kind of beneficial to just leave those invades alone.
I would be interested as well, because I think a lot of Nocturne players around the world now, particularly the very aggressive ones, and again, that's LCK, APL, LPL are kind of the ones that come to mind for me, because that's what I've kind of seen a little bit more of late. The level 1 from the Nocturne is probably the strongest of any jungler in the game. Like, legitimately, if you get melee range as the Nocturne over something like Raptors, it is disgusting right now. People think of the Nocturne as a level 6 champion, but the early dueling power is very strong. What he doesn't have until 6 is a dash. If you can force someone to fight you because you're taking their cap, then they have to deal with it. And there is indeed Jose looking for that level 1 Raptor invade. You do this as Nocturne, and there's not a lot you get to do about it.
Yeah, so you mentioned the raw stats there in the bottom left. I'm not sure how easy it is to see. 82 AD when he's standing on top of the Duskbringer trail. He's also got lethal tempo. So,
yeah.
82 AD with a whole bunch of attack speed once it's stacked. Just crazy business. Absolute crazy business for pretty much any champion in the game. It's sort of reminiscent, this is a deep cut for the old heads, of like top lane Fiora. You just start a long sword.
No way,
got,
okay.
like,
Alright, I see where you're going with
long
this.
sword, full AD rune page, and you just have 110 AD level 1. You know, it just, stat-wise, that's what it feels like.
That's true. I was not expecting that deep cut, but I am there with you, and I completely agree. And it is just very scary. And it's partly why Nocturne has started to see a lot more play. He is just splitting this map. The Mundo's going to go to the other side, but it's been a little while since we've seen true vertical jungling. But at this point, reminder last game, Liquid started with a very aggressive early dive against Cryo and Masu. They got 2 kills. They went beyond, and it looked like it was going to continue from there. They didn't manage to successfully stop that or keep that snowball rolling realistically, and FlyQuest again did a very good job of stopping that, which is the correct way to phrase that. But as it stands, no divers yet, and it will just be a splitting of that map, which has been something of a rarity in Pro League over the last few years. We've not really seen a gentleman's agreement to go vertical jungling.
Yeah, but I want to flag something about 320, 325.
Okay.
That second respawn camp of the FlyQuest chickens, because Jose will do his Grump here, do blue, do crab, and then he's going to be there. Griffin has crab to do, but he's going to go to his wolves first, so he's going to be a little bit off tempo, and that's going to leave him perfectly in sync to just be at the chickens on spawn. So we could get Armageddon over this. Quad might need to take a base so he's healthy enough for it. He'll try and receive the wave, but if he receives the wave, waits too long for that TP, it could be problematic.
That's the ping.
Jose's
pinging it.
so he's going to leave the chicken. So he's going to spend.
He wants the longsword, and he's going to go over.
He wants the double longswords, yeah, and he's just going to run straight to it. That's the plan.
This is we used to see this a little bit more when you hang on,
Oh!
Quad gets ignited as the flash. That was not a good return to sender. You did not want that abduct Masu. Potential trade here. The piercing arrow does miss. There were some blight stacks available to go down. Won't happen. And we have got Armageddon around the chickens. Here we go. Get your popcorn, guys, because the fried chicken is going to one of our junglers, and they ain't sharing.
No, they are not. Quid's not going to be here to support it though, so
You're right.
seems like off cam, Griffin just got the whole cam.
He did. And there's still that scuttle crab that's not taken, by the way. Jose needs to probably pick this one up. The Mondo is going to reset. Did get that extra camp effectively as a result, though his camps are on weird timers now. I wonder whether the Nocturne looks at the Gromp here or whether he goes to his own Raptors. There's a couple of different options. Looks like the ping will be his own Raptors.
Yeah, the beauty of what's going on here is that Jose should have a pretty good understanding of where all of his camps are in terms of the timers. Especially the chickens. Chickens he'll know for sure, and obviously they're going to spawn in front of his face now.
Ta-da.
But he has a pretty good idea of that. Yeah, Griffin's like blue, did Gromp, walked over, so he knows now Griffin will be on Gromp.
There's that ward.
Exactly. And he's actually crossing over, so he just wants, this is what I was saying, like you don't really want to give Mundo
boy.
a stable early game. Vision is going to benefit Griffin though. He should get this with the E-Smite. Yep.
Yep. Nicely done. Some Blood Force Trauma now has the book. The spell shield comes up to block the initial briefcase, but I think Mundo is going to be a very aggressive businessman. Not necessarily find too much more. Clear out that ward, and second invade doesn't go the way of Jose Diodo right now. A couple notes here as well. Worth noting that Quid, as we saw in that mid lane trade that went so disastrously wrong for Quad, has gone for the Ignite on the Ahri. No teleport here, wants that initial upfront burst. But I will also note there is no Dark Seal in inventory. I may know a couple of people who are quite an advocate of the Dark Seal being bought every time early on the Ahri. I tend to agree.
Do you share blood, perchance? Just...
I couldn't possibly say.
Okay. Griffin's going to start off Dragon. Does have bot side prio, and that's what this is all about. Jose's here, however, and so are the rest of TL. And Quid has 6. So it's Quad. He's got Quid's ult.
Spirit Rush galore. Pause here in the form of the Nico. Goes into Quad, gets that in his Abscond of Dark, the flash onto Jose, and Griffin begins to just walk at people. First blood to the Varus, who gets that with a piercing arrow. Yorn is here with a fourth shot, trying to get Quad. The final ball on the box line gets it. Quid gets the resets, they get the double. More Spirit Rushes, and unfortunately the rush of blood to the head is immediately stopped as Master tries to get that, but has to flash over the wall. Core says no, a last W for Yorn, picks it up. It looked so good. So good for FlyQuest, until, unfortunately, Quid said no.
Dude, those last second resets. I mean, the ult had to have been timing out kind of soon, right? I mean,
It's
got one charge for a little while. It's really good snap engage. I guess he had it for a little while longer than I thought. Maybe? Yeah, he probably did. Probably still about 2 or 3 seconds left, but still, that fourth shot just so clutch from Tion. So Quid can walk up. Mastery does a bunch of damage to Quid with that one arrow, but blight stacks were present. Does make a lot of sense, but again, no dragon. As we return back to Summoner's Rift, Jose is in front of it right now. I want to say he's on crab. There's a dead red crab there, so I'm going to assume that's what he was doing. He'll make his way up to his own chicken camp.
Indeed. Quid now 2-1-1. Very happy here at the beginning of this game. In a pretty good spot. There was a point when Silas did go towards the things like the rower builds a bit more regularly. You used to kind of hit this point where Silas would eventually just start outvaluing the Ahri in the side lane, because he could kind of just steal your ult, go 1-for-1 with it, and just have more mobility than you as the game went on. So there was a point where Silas was picked semi-regularly into the Ahri. I think it's gotten a little harder. Silas has seen some changes to his stats and how he wants to build and where he wants to go on the Rift, but down a couple kills to the Ahri certainly gives Quid a bit more breathing room, and the Ignite will help mitigate things like that Kingslayer healing, which is often where a lot of the Silas power really lies. The piercing arrow stacked. Won't land onto anyone or even any minions there, which was a little sad there for Massey, but not too much more to write home about. As it stands, mild early gold lead here to Team Liquid, and top lane, Morgan about 10 CS here, which feels pretty good for Jax. And the Ambassador dodges out of that counter strike and maybe look to trade a little bit. There's still another leap strike, and everyone's trading real hard here.
Yeah, haven't looked up here too much. Well, Morgan.
Here we go. That's the Grandmaster's Smite. Gakos, yes, he does jump forward the leap strike and get that empowered auto. And Counter Strike comes on through. It's the wrong game, but there's still a shot to the head.
Gakos underestimating Morgan's damage and also that Counter Strike cooldown, and crucially just elects not to flash, which I can kind of respect, but this death is going to mean his jungler is going to lose out on the grubs, and his team subsequently will not have that buff. Great solo kill there from Morgan. Gakko's just kind of left it on a silver platter, and swing and a miss from Master. Maybe it's just great feet, actually, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
From Yeon. Oh my god. Cast the ult, maybe?
Can think about it. I think you're right. And look at the Nico on the side. If they try to run too far, it can get very dangerous. A few of those grubs picked up. They won't pick up the last one, but they'll be happy with the 2, the reset, and maybe a threat now. Bot Quids also losing the lane. Does have that Spirit Rush available. Just dropped off vision. The Mundos had to walk down lane to come help as the curtains were indeed called. Cryo's just out of range, and now Cryo needs to try and find their way out. The Tide Caller's Blessing gives a speed up off the passing. Where is Quids? Pull the trigger, will land the charm, but again, it's into the pass of the Mundo, who just isn't swayed by Ari's seductive wiles this time around.
Too busy looking at the stock market.
I mean, that's fair. Him and the new Mordekaiser skin, you know, they're much more interested in the big numbers.
Yep, they are. I don't know, man. That Mundo skin just feels like base Mundo to me, you know? Like, if you see Mundo and it doesn't have corporate Mundo, it feels not correct.
It's a bit like Spirit Guardian Udyr was for a long time.
Oh,
the Wing Kale before the rework. Like, anyone who was a real player played
Muay Thai
the
Lee Sin.
so much smoother.
Muay Thai
I get you.
Like, you see that back in the day, Season 5, Season 6, you're just, you're concerned. You're like, oh yeah. Especially if you're playing on the US, you're like, yep, that guy might be Korean. You know, he might be. You'll work.
Like, there might be a little bit of the, little bit of a change. What we're expecting from those players when those skins come out. And, the counter-strike that. It's an unfortunate dash away. Now comes the Grandmaster's Might. The public execution trades it well, but Gakos needs to back away. Yeah, it's not looking game. Neither of the cooldowns is a flash available. The blast code's there. So is the briefcase just over the wall. Won't follow any further. They'll take a grub on the way out, I guess.
Do they even have time?
No, there's a paranoia. They're going to jump on board and repudiate buys time, but that leaves some people left all on their lonesome. The paranoia turns into reality. It's not paranoid if they really are out to get you.
They did get the grub, though. But the
that's worth it. It's
of that 1v1 starting to spill out onto the rest of the map here. Gakos really does need to take a breath, right? He needs to just slow things down a little bit on some of these trades. He is making the top side of the maps so unnecessarily volatile. Especially when you look at Masu, he's 2-1 right now. He's got the Yomus, the bot side trades mostly going okay, as long as Yeon doesn't have some fancy feet. And like we said, I mean, hell, I'm gonna be honest, if that wasn't on the high ground, low ground terrain, Morgan might have sidestepped his ult too. Like, there's a real world where that happens. As Paranoia comes in once he's on the grubs, Morgan gets the chase down. There's not really much to talk about in this replay, to be honest with you. More about how Quad is able to just steal the ult and slide away. It's just good picks overall.
Tell you what we will do here. Well, we've got the opportunities. Griffin has picked up that heart, still worth noting. Hexbait for Jose Viodo. Those are all good things. But it is worth having a quick look at this gold and try not to wince too much because the Liquid solo laners are in a fantastic spot right now.
I mean, everyone on Team Liquid is in a fantastic spot right now. This is the kind of 2k gold lead that feels a little bit more like a 4k gold lead, you know? Like, everyone on the enemy team is ahead right now.
I would also like to note, though, that there is a bit of a top lane experience differential as well. 1.5 level to Morgan, who yet to get the top lane role quest either. And a Jax that's getting this kind of lead scares me, Jamada.
Yeah. The, which one is it again? Is it the T1 skin? The SKT1 Jax skin? That particular
Impact one, yeah.
Yeah, it's just ingrained in my brain. Anytime I think about Jax being fed, especially this season, and especially the context of this draft. It's probably going to be very much about side laning and how FlyQuest are going to be able, or lack thereof, to try and shut down this very, very scary champion once he gets going already at that Triforce.
Yeah, as we said, 2-level advantage, just about. It'll kind of even up shortly for Gakos, but it's not going to be too easy with that priority as well. Team Liquid take the opportunity to continue to mess with the Mundo. He needs to throw down that maximum dosage to try and keep himself rolling, but all of those drugs in the world aren't going to keep him from feeling that pain. Yon, though, gets hit with the Chains of Corruption, the Tidal Wave as well. Nearly drowns. Just managed to back away, gets the speed up, but there's a heal. Tries to get under his turret and buys some time, but the turret's just nowhere near hot enough to trade back there. And a nice pickup in the 2v1 from FlyQuest bot. Poor JJ now in danger, but immediately turns around. There's no passive from the Mundo, who does land the briefcase, but over the wall goes Morgan with the leap strike and caves in the Doctor's head.
think they're spending too much time around this top side of the map, man. I think FlyQuest just need to reevaluate where their strengths are at the moment. As Team
It's
Liquid
not top,
very
just a
much
quick
understanding
spoiler,
where...
guys.
Yes, it's not top. And Team Liquid, they got the memo. They very much got the memo. And Morgan is a beneficiary? Beneficiary. I always get it mixed up for a second. Beneficiary of the...
Beneficiary, yeah.
Of the
The
love here
people
at the
who
top
get
side.
helped.
Yeah.
The benefactor's the one who does the helping. There you go.
English is hard. Only language I speak fluently. Can't even speak it properly.
I wasn't going to say anything, but it's a miracle you're in this job, really, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I can count, though. 30 seconds until the next dragon spawn.
That's a good count. That's a very important one. I'm glad you did that.
FlyQuest, kind of... They're not going to have, like, proper prio. They've got prio here in the mid lane. But they should be able to link
Good
up
shot.
well with Quid once Jose makes it out onto the map here. And just reaffirm their control and deny a little bit more vision. And this
Jose
is
doesn't have the Ionian
complete
boots,
darkness
by the
too.
way.
he
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's looking pretty dark, but he does have the Hex Plate, which does mean that the ult should still be off on fairly good timer here. And again, there are a lot of auto-attacking champions, a lot of AD threats. I don't think that's a worse decision here in the world. Do Morgan and or Gatgos want to join this fight, though? Because worth noting a significant amount of the gold for Liquid is in this Jax, who looks like he wants to continue this 1v1. Oh, dear. Gatgos is not having fun. Had a great Rumble game, has been having a great showing on carries in general across the LCS split. Right now on the Ambassador, he's not having a lot of fun. Does like to find a decent trade there with the Repudiate Flash for the counter-strike, though! And Morgan's having absolutely no problems with picking that one up for a finish here. But still a 3-level advantage. He's going to TP out! The Tidal Wave's just not in time! Surfs up! And Jack surfs out to safety.
Oh, that brother Gatgos is homeless. What a play from Morgan.
I don't think Morgan's any brother of his. He's not that. He's being disowned, mate. There's no top laner fraternity here.
Nope. Morgan is 4-0. And Gatgos is 0-3-0. I will let you do the math. Quad.
Don't want to. That's quite nasty, man. Core is not having a lot of fun here. Find the pop loss and turn around, and Quad dies 5 in the spirit. Right, that's the maximum dosage. TP's gone flying, but the paranoia is on. And again, we said it before. If they really are out to get you, are you that paranoid? Gatgos TP's in, can't quite get the kill onto Morgan. The leap strike out, so it ends up being the one for none, despite it looking like a Core JJ, who was the one who was supposed to be Core.
And it was. Remember when we were in draft? There's a key phrase I'm going to latch onto what I said, and it was FlyQuest have a lot of very strong ways of disengage, particularly the Nami.
I hear that. Yeah.
I think they need to. They can't be the one that go in first. That can't be their job. I think let TL do the driving and just see if they slip. You know, a little bit of hydroplaning on the good old motorway. See if that happens. Because right now, I think this is just smooth sailing from the perspective of TL. Sure, the bot lane, that matchup's not been great, right? It's not been fantastic, but Yeon is still going to provide CC from a distance. And I'm going to be honest, it's been years at this point since I've seen a Nico look balanced. So,
Even after all the nerfs, she's still there.
yeah,
Something.
it's been a while. So, I think at the minute, again, I keep on referring to it, but FlyQuest need to just take a break. They need to just slow down. Really look at the game state, look at how the champs want to work against each other, and just play into their strengths. See if TL make a mistake, because that was what got them back in game number 1.
Yeah, I agree. It's a latch on to that as well. Look, if you do want to make these proactive, and I get it, you've got the Fed Varus, Chains of Corruption, if you can find that bit of pick CC, you sort of feel like you've maybe got a window. Just do it on away from where Liquid are making plays. You can afford to give up maybe this next dragon to get some gold from some of these turrets. You've not picked up anyone. In fact, no one's picked up any turrets yet, which is a little unusual for this kind of era of League of Legends. But I think that won't be true for too much longer. It's not a battle herald today. It's the more traditional I bash into the turret style. And Morgan still 2-level advantage here, who may have some additional members turning up. Both junglers here as well. Stun onto Gatgos, who loses a significant chunk of his HP bar. Overcomes Core and the rest of the crew. We may need to start looking at that disengage angle. Griffin forced to maximum dosage. Out comes the curtain call. But I don't know whether they like this one as Morgan in a 1v3. That's quite deep and will in fact get shut down. There's the disengage we were talking for. Now maybe an angle in for the side of Quad, who looks to find some damage. Gets the Pop Blossom feed. Pop Blossom. It's a Flower Garden out here. Who has hay fever? Looks like it might be Liquid. You said they might slip up, and you know what, Jamada? You didn't even have to wait 5 minutes before they fumbled.
League of Legends. Marsu. I mean, Yeon has no flash. He should be in range for that. Slow.
Yeah, he's dead.
Cast Focus spell, but autos will do the job. A little bit of sidestepping. Wasn't vision in the bush. It'll look easy. And I mean, yeah. Credit to me, I guess. TL
Pat yourself on the back. There you go. Wait. Credit to Jamada, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's a really good analyst. There you go. Now you don't feel quite so narcissistic.
Yeah, and in fairness, I mean, look, if Morgan, if his abilities hit, it probably doesn't go as badly for TL. But at the end of the day, I just feel the decision to go in that deep is just an incorrect one, and too much of a TL ended up going forward there.
Back to live, and I suspect I'm probably obligated at this point after we look at those team fight stats there. But those are some significant damage numbers from the poor Ambassi, who was a significant mile behind compared to that Jax, who didn't get a lot done there, which is a bit of a surprise considering. But a bit deep from Morgan, and the punish is swift and significant. I wanted to do that. Let's have a look at the gold graph and just sort of say that that was a 4,500 goldie that has now largely come back to a playable discrepancy. We've got ourselves Dragon in 30 seconds, and we are going to have to brace ourselves for impact because we'll be looking at another fight. I feel like there's no doubt about that one.
Yeah, absolutely we will. Question is, will FlyQuest allow TL to slip, trip over their own shoelaces again? Or are they gonna try and be as proactive as they can with their champions? Again, reminder, complete control here of vision for T-Law, so FlyQuest are walking in blind. Thank you, observers. I like it. Oh, Morgan on the side, holy!
Oh, and the pop blossom after! Claw follows! Snap! And they're gone! The fingers come and crept together, and they find absolutely they were asking for. Morgan is left over, he's got a counter strike! He just hasn't died! No way! Quad buys a second or two of his own time, but that is it. This time, Morgan finds the mark, paired up with team captain Core JJ.
Lost track of him looking at the bottom side of the map, and so did FlyQuest. Not expecting the top laner to find that angle, and the follow-up was spectacular. The Nash is going to be taken here by T-Law, and the Dragon's still up on the map for them to get to, so they could very easily, the death time is the way they are, reset, go back towards that bottom side, maybe take it free, maybe go in siege and return to it. Options are plenty as the Baron goes down. They secure that one. And let's just get a look at the angle. I mean,
It's so good.
they're just in between a rock and a hard place. What can I say? Right? They see him come out of the top side rush because they've got that ward in the mid lane a little bit early, but it's effectively a pincer. And there's no real pathing that would be safe. They go up into Morgan, this happens. They go down into the Ahri. Well, then Ahri gets to find a free charm, and Morgan has to walk, what? 1,000 extra units on this journey. Doesn't really make a difference in the end. Now Fly there on this Dragon, but look at the charm. The top side Cryo's just one shot.
Yeah, he's just not very tanky on this fish, and it turns out Foxes eat those two. Now they go a little bit further. The paranoia is there. The charm follows. Morgan in the backside. There's Quad, who steals a Pop Blossom to disengage the Jax, but that's really all they can do. So point now for Liquid on the reset.
Let's see how far they can push this Nash. Because it's all the inners still up and available, and that's always the worry or the annoyance of these early Barons. It's difficult to break open the base as, well, we just feel bad for Cryogen, really, having to see that one again. But then the follow-up is once more fantastic. Jose knows he can follow through. Core's on the other side, trying to provide a little bit of extra CC. And it's very easy pickings for TL with this kind of lead, this kind of gold advantage. And a particular book has been picked up.
Been
by
to the library.
Quinn. It's got 10 pages in it already.
Maybe he can write a few more in this particular diary, especially if he fills it with a few names of his opponents who have been dying pretty repeatedly here to this very, very fed Ahri at this point, who is in a pretty commanding position. But again, we said similar things about Liquid last game, and FlyQuest managed to find their way back, and managed to wait for some slip-ups. Morgan's gone forwards. Gonna get ulted there. The public execution. Turnaround though. The Totally to the backside with that paranoia. They lose two, having finally picked up the Jax. Gakos in danger, trying to dash around best he can with the Drake down set. They do finally bring down that Nocturne. The problem is it's still a 3 for 2. Not the cleanest by Liquid. They do manage to come ahead just about. Find a bit more. Griffin is going to be left pretty low here. Masu trying to throw out some damage from the other side. And this Mundo without his passive and without his ult is still relatively vulnerable. Rocket Belt looking for the deadly blow. The charm follows. Cleanse is forced. They are forced to retreat as that inner turret does fall.
Maybe that Rocket Belt item isn't so bad after all. Kidding, I'm still a Rocket Belt hater, man. I think this item is overbought.
I agree.
Morgan, he's the one that kicks this off. I'm going to be honest. Oh, he kind of griefed at first. But when you're this far ahead, and look at Jose, just on top of Cryo, knows he's allowed to do this. The Mikhail's was a little bit too early, doesn't cleanse the fear, flashes away, does eventually drop, but all of that time focusing on killing the Nocturne means a lot more time not killing the carry Ari, who is very much running down the rest of my team on the other side of the screen. Cryo gets caught in a little bit of a snare there, but be able to walk out, and TL, they just continue to take control of the map. Slowly but surely. They got that mid-inner, like we said, with the Nash. Nash is dissipated now. Return back to a slight neutral stance for will probably only last 2 minutes before there's some more jostling for a Mountain Soul.
That is a significant delta in the gold between mid laners.
It's alright. You know? Only makes up makes up 4,000 of the 5.7.
You can't be that kind of understated. We've got to be a little upfront here.
Yeah. Well, I feel like to do some nationality, I don't know what the right word is here. Bashing. I feel like normally
okay.
I don't feel like the Americans are normally the more blunt of the two. To be frank, I actually think it's us.
Because the art of the British understatement is kind of a thing for humor, right? Like we do kind of do the "it's alright" kind of thing. Although I get where you're coming from. I see.
I guess. But yeah. Basically, big number on Quid, small number on Quad.
He's still at one item. He's still at one item.
Yeah.
I can't believe my co-caster called me out, guys. I'm never going to recover. That's it.
We're 25 minutes in, and Quad is only now buying a Leandri's.
Oh, boy.
Oh, sorry,
it's a rift maker, which does make sense.
I see the mask. I'm just like, mask. One mask's more.
Always the
mask big.
Exactly.
Sorry. Even then, I mean, does this item change how
everything?
Quad? Yeah, you know, that's always the thing for me with items in League of Legends, and again, why I look at items like Rocket Belt and think, why the popularity, other than Master Chovy has purchased this item on many champs, so we must follow. How do they impact the game? How do they change the way that a fight's played out? I look at an item like Rapid Fire Cannon, and I think to myself, well, yeah, maybe Quad gets to auto from those couple of hundred extra units, and it means maybe Griffin doesn't get to chuck a briefcase at his face. Maybe Gatco's can't cast R, right? There's some meaningful impact on that item purchase, even if the item itself is kind of doo-doo.
At the very least here, Griffin's got 3 items, a Spirit Visage, the Heartsteel, Dead Man's as well. You do kind of hit the point where potentially this squad won't have the most fun unless Jax is wailing on the Mundo, dealing with him, especially if that ult's out. There's no real anti-heal in, aside from Core JJ, who's picked up that Oblivion Orb, and that is good news. But it isn't exactly universal. Teleports come in. We've got ourselves a bit of a fight. Going Quid on the flank. Oh my god, he's gone. The Nami is again Sushi, and I don't think she enjoys the experience. Griffin does find to help Gatcos get another public execution onto Morgan, but yet a counter-strike flashes on top of the barrage. It's a split fight as Yon gets under his own turret, and Quad flashes, absconds away with Yon's life, but not before trading his own. Now there's another counter-strike, the double stun, the charm after the Ambessa, looking like she's in Arcane, and spoiler, it didn't end so well for poor old Ambessa. She's in the dirt.
Good night, Auntie. You will be missed. Gatcos is the last one to fall in that fight. Griffin is still up, but the likelihood he makes it to that dragon to steal it is not high. Quid? Yeah, that's a lot. He didn't even hit him with anything but Foxfire charges, man. He just died. Core JJ also does his job with the ultimate, even though the fight ends up a little bit split, and maybe you'd think this could end up working out a little bit more in favor of FlyQuest, right? A slightly more scrappy fight where perhaps T-Law don't really get the dive they're looking for. The issue is T-Law did get the dive they were looking for, and they couldn't defend their carries. So in the extended. They're able to just pick and choose their battles.
Making this game look more and more and more like, as we get a look at that damage as well. Yeah, Quid, despite not hitting anything, still does 5,500 damage, which is pretty ridiculous, right? For the first half there, that is quite telling of how fed the Messiah is this time around. 22 stacks on that book now as well. Has written a few more names in there, and somewhere out there, like Yagami approves. We'll know his name. Baron's now being threatened, and the vision control, just look at that straight line through the enemy jungle. It is very difficult to find their way in here. It started up. I don't know what FlyQuest can do to come and stop it.
Well, what could TP? Right, alright, hear me out. Quad TPs. That's a TP.
Yeah.
And they walk in slowly.
I'm getting
Quad JJ gets a massive flank because the lights.
What happens next?
Well, everyone just dies, I think, Sam. Everyone just
dies! They dies! You're a prophet, Jamani, you're a prophet. Everyone's dying. Quid gets the resets. There is so much fire, and it's all coming from the Fox. Griffin needs to flash away. He takes the blazer off briefly, but unfortunately, mate, the stocks are definitely going on down this time around.
That they are. I feel like Griffin unfortunately bought high, and he's gonna have to sell low.
Sell low, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the ideal circumstance. Nash is being done kind of slowly. These guys don't really get through big health bars particularly fast. I suppose that makes sense. Griffin's the only one alive.
Jin is not a Baron killing AD carry, it must be said. The Jack's might help, but he's middle of split pushing already. We'll have a look at this replay because you are absolutely right. The lights got turned off. Core finds everyone, well, everyone dies.
It's like a scene out of Scooby-Doo. The lights go off, everyone hugs each other, they come up, and hey, by the way, guys, Nico on your head. Not much you can do about it. Yeah. We're at a point, really, where Analysis doesn't really do it justice. They're just ahead. They are just really far ahead. Yeah, Mountain Soul 2.
3.5 minutes till Elder. Baron's their name. 10 kills on Ari. He's got literally a fully stacked Medjay. You can write no more in that book. This is getting incredibly dicey. Now got the Executioners calling in inventory for Yarn as well, who hits that level 16. And we start to get to that point as well where Jin's passive begins to start playing a role. People kind of forget that Jin's scaling is a little exponential post about level 16, because he just gets like 70-odd% bonus AD at this point from the 75% crit and levels and stuff. It's a little silly. There's not that many true tanks here who are going to deal with that particularly well.
Yeah, even Mundo is... He's not really a... I know people always kind of scoff and turn their eyes off at him, but he's not even really a tank. He's
just built
more in line...
does he? Yeah.
No, he functions more under the Juggernaut faction, and those guys, yes, they're tanky, but they're normally tanky through some kind of damage mitigation.
Pressing
actual
R in this case,
upfront,
guys, just
yeah, like pressing R, pressing W, like that's where his tank stats come from. That guy will die to upfront burst if he isn't allowed to press his buttons in time, for whatever the reason may be.
Yeah, they're going to pull the paranoia. We go again. The Ghost Blade's rolling, and oh boy! Away goes the Varus, but he's left in a third. Kryten also just about escaped from Griffin. Does a decent job of buying up in the front line. The ult is popped, stays alive, but Morgan heads on in, and the Jax is pretty good at bringing down those Juggernauts too. Flash out is required from a couple members, but no one dies. Jose here on that side, loses a bit of the health bar, and they pull the trigger, but for once T-Law can't quite get what they were looking for.
Yep. You know, quickly just a tangent, because there's probably nothing that's going to happen with the Nash.
That's a caster curse.
But here, and there's 2, you know, and there's 2 minutes to Elder Dragon. Surely that means nothing happens. Wink, wink. Jax is weirdly good against like every Juggernaut in the game. Actually, yeah. I can't think of one in lane that he might suck against. Like maybe Udyr, and even then, like Udyr's all auto attacks anyway. So it's it's like a skill matchup.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a skill matchup.
The leap strike gives you mobility, so that can make things a bit.
Yeah, it's like well, you can't really trade in because you get Eid. Speaking of trading in.
Yeah, maybe just everyone. Maybe everyone. He's a late game Jax at level 19. Pop Blossom comes on in, and Pop goes the FlyQuest. Ain't the nursery rhyme, but it's certainly feeling like one. It's got a nasty end to this one as well. Brothers Grimm approved. They get a decent damage into the double kill to Lord Morgan himself, who makes it another for his mid laner in Quid, who is filling his pocket with even more gold. And Quid, as we are the British casters today, Kryten runs away. But again, he might be on ice, but unfortunately for him, this bit of Sushi's got footwork. The Aqua Prison is solid enough, but it does little but buy time, and little time it does at that. Team Liquid onto the Nexus turrets, and we're bringing us to a third and deciding game. Much like the first round matchup, it goes the distance.
Much like any time these two teams have played each other in spring, it will go the distance. Goes to show how closely matched these two teams are, but also their abilities to bounce back off of losses, right? The strengths of TL really do lie in things that aren't necessarily on the Rift, right? There's always talk about Spawn, his impact on the team, but of course some of the leader members of this lineup as well, the amount of tenor that some of these players do have, particularly of course Core JJ, to just level the ship, right? Get things back on track. Kind of felt like that's what FlyQuest needed this game, right? You can actually see it. There's that small gold dip right before 20 minutes. That's when they needed to just take a breath and really slow the game down, but TL kept on progressing faster and faster.
And the thing is, you say small gold dip, but for the time, that was like a 4,000 gold lead they brought down to a 1,500 gold lead. It's just that the gold became so monstrously large from that point. You can see just post that 20-minute mark where it all falls apart again. The 3,000 gold they made back just wasn't enough, and credit to Team Liquid as well. They were in a good position in that first game, come back into the second game, and outside of that one mid-game fumble, which is becoming a little characteristic here in this series, it must be said, they are looking pretty commanding in terms of getting those early game leads, and this time around, they don't let go. Pull the trigger well. Morgan on that Jax in particular was just so dangerous on the flank. Everyone had to burn everything to disengage him, and then kind of allow for people like Core JJ and Quid to follow up and do the rest of the work. And it's always a scary state of affairs when Ari, of all champions, is topping the damage charts.
Yeah, if Ari's topping damage charts, FF.
With a rocket belt build.
With a rocket belt build. It's time to go. It's time to wrap it up. And wrap it up TL did. Very smoothly, for the most part, after that 20-minute mark. And again, I think that just lends to an understanding of what those win conditions were from TL. Dive in, get those big ultimates out of the Nico. FlyQuest never quite found their footing after that first Nash.
Well, the road to EWC is long and winding, and both of these teams now have found themselves stumbling a little bit on the path. One more game to decide which of these two teams will be facing Sentinels tomorrow. But to find out which will finally get over that hurdle, we'll have to go to a break. And when we come back, that deciding match is awaiting us. Welcome back to the qualifiers for the Esports World Cup here for the North American League of Legends teams. You are watching the lower bracket finals between Team Liquid and FlyQuest, and once again, guys, this matchup is a banger. It's gone 1-1 so far. Liquid strike back as I suspected they might.
Yeah, thankfully, we are not treated to only 2 games between these 2 teams, as both really playing to make their way to the next and final round of the EWC qualifiers. And so many back and forth fights, man. Definitely a little bit more leaning in favor of TL, especially as the game went on. And I think that just comes down to the nature of, hey, TL snapped onto their single targets that they wanted to quicker with the Nocturne, with the Ahri, and of course this big top lane diff. I was going to say something else, but it just was a diff. That bled onto the rest of the map, right? This is a big deal. The bomb side matchup wasn't going that poorly for FlyQuest, but once Morgan started gaining access to basically anyone else but Gakkos to whack with his stick, yeah, it started getting pretty bad pretty fast, and the rest of the team started following through on that lead.
Quid in particular was one of those ones who was the real recipient of a lot of those additional kills. Picked up the book, had the rocket belt, just became incredibly mobile. Core JJ as well, I think, deserving of a shout out. I think we've seen a few times in these replays where Morgan or someone else goes first and Core JJ hits them with the sucker punch of the bot blossom after that absolutely deletes that front line. The Mondo, the Silas just never really got to survive as long as they would like and get to play forwards and brawl in the way that an Ambessa, Mondo, Silas kind of core is hoping to do. This was about as good as it got, and again, Quad gets 1 in the 1v3, but that's it, right? You don't get what you're looking for, and 2 for 4 just isn't going to be good enough when you're already falling down to pretty low lows with Mountain Soul on the board there as well. We come back to live, and this was that one where you made the correct call that everyone was about to get destroyed.
Yeah. Just felt like the moment, didn't it? Felt like it was always going to be the moment. And only Griffin ends up living, but can't gain anything, right? Can't find a way to sneak the Nash. And this is the final fight where, again, lights are off. 3-man Pop Blossom, but the fight's already over by the time that happens. And
yeah,
Griffin and Marsu are just the lead, and the rest of the team left trying to pick up the scraps. And again, this T-Law comp just does so much right in terms of finding those targets, murdering them immediately, and FlyQuest with pretty strong peel tools, in all fairness, can never really stand their ground on top of each other and ensure that no key target is just being deleted out of a fight.
Yeah, and you're trying to peel for a Fed Jax coming from one angle, a Nico under the cover of a Nocturne Paranoia coming from another, the Nocturne itself, the Ahri from another with 25 stacks on the Medjais. There is only so much you can disengage, especially when these dive threats got to the point where anyone individually was capable of 1vXing the game, which is a very scary point to reach, right? It's a little different if you have to land the full combination of your dive champions to get the kill you're looking for into an AD carry, which sort of happened a little bit in that last game. And of course, you kind of had to jump onto Yawn repeatedly to make that happen. This time around, it felt like anyone was capable of just taking over a fight there post a certain point, and that is a very scary place to be. Have got word from production that our final draft will be on the way very shortly, so with that in mind, Adrian, we probably ought to turn our eyes forwards. A lot of champions off the board here. Some of the more like creative picks, things like the Mondo, they're a little bit more of a FlyQuest specialty, perhaps not necessarily your standard S tier regular picks, but still a fair amount at this point in the Fearless system to be gone. Anything in particular that's coming to mind in terms of, look, I just need to see this champion come out with this kind of adjustment in order to kind of get them over the line? Because again, losing here gets you nothing. You need to at least make the next round to have a chance of making it to EWC via the qualifiers. And even then, you still realistically need to beat Sentinels tomorrow.
Champ-wise, Ezreal, Aurora, Rise as well. Yeah. We'll see if that makes it through the ban phase in particular. And then after that, even though the narrative is there that the curse is very much real, Yunara, Lulu, probably for TL.
I can see it.
Hell,
Yawn's a great Yunara.
This is my understanding that they are second pick.
Yes, they are.
If it's not first picked, I would very easily see just Yunara, Lulu, Slam.
Yeah,
just 1-2. If it isn't banned, if Yunara or Lulu isn't banned, or hell, at this kind of stage, you can first pick Lulu when you're the first pick team and just kind of build around.
Consideration, Lucian Milio. Nami's gone, but the Lucian's still up, and it is Yorn on the other side.
Yep, that's true. That's true. See, I just thought of Masu Lucian in my head, and then I remembered the time at MSI where he clicked on the worst possible pixel on the entire map in a game 5. And then you probably didn't catch it on screen, but I shuddered. So maybe we don't get that.
I remembered that play. I had forgotten about it, and I just had a really vivid flashback. And sometimes, as a pro player, you just have those moments which are going to give you some cold sweats for a little while after you make the wrong play, and it happens. But
genuinely, whilst we're waiting for draft, and we're almost out of like real things to talk about until we actually see what the picks are.
Oh boy, that's a scary place to be.
It's got to be. Our producer's just very hard. He goes, go to draft now. Go to draft now.
Oh, production.
Save.
Coming in clutch.
But that's the kind of thing you have nightmares about when you're a competitor. Like something like that happens, you actually do just dream about it. Anyways,
it matters.
Nightmares, cold sweats, hell, hot sweats aside. Draft for our third and final game of the night. FlyQuest, our first pick. Team Liquid are blue side. Yone, Orianna off the table already. A lot of mid lane focus early. I wonder if that's going to bleed into a Rise ban, and then where that takes us for this mid lane pool in particular, and whether or not that means the rise of Anivia in champion priority here.
Very true. I think that's a very valuable thing to keep an eye on, and that's exactly what gets banned next. So very on the point there. That makes sense. I do also like the ban of the Yone against Quid, who has always been a big enjoyer of that champion. Theoretically flexible, but realistically Yone top has been a rarity for a little while. So I still think that's a fairly solid ban here coming into game 3 of a fearless draft. I will also note, and this is very much a tangent, and I do apologize, I'll try not to be on it for too long, that with the decoupling of side select and which side you are playing, and first pick rather, my adage of the Luke Skywalker pick has been made significantly harder to pull off, because Red 5 was standing by for counter pick, man. It was so good. You had this kind of like ability to have this pick to decide a draft, find your way back on in. It made me smile all the time, and now I just can't bring it out as often, Adrian, and that is tough for me as a caster who enjoys a few too many Star Wars references.
That's fair. It does, and it burns me a little bit too. You know, I'm big on R5s that change the game, as we'll see what FlyQuest B1, because Rise has been banned. Aurora is the champion that ends up coming through. Of course, flexible. Gakkos could technically take it in the top side if the matchup dictates, but Yunara Lulu is what's on my mind. If I'm Teal, or I just feel like they are the team that would very highly prioritize their bot lane to have strong duos, right? And the Lucian was also banned away, so there's no Milio pairing neither. Yep, they did.
And it's the third game in a row that Yorn's going to have that Lucian banned away from him. FlyQuest have done that every single game, but that is certainly not bot lane. It is a Jace slam at theoretically flexible, of course, but Jace top has kind of been one of those big carry top options, and it feels like Morgan and Gakkos have been pretty willing to go hammer and tongs, with the exception of that Scion in the first game.
Yeah, that is true. Where are they going to go? Oh, Jace Maokai. Okay, interesting. So slow and controlled. It really does feel like after game 1, the talks were, let's just play it slow-ish, right, in terms of how easy these comps really are to execute, and we just move from there. And for FlyQuest now, maybe that's them who go towards this Lulu Yunara. The issue, however, is Ezreal is up, so you're going to run face first into an Ezreal lane. That's the first thing. So that should be pick number 3 for T-Log. This will be Lulu. And you're getting outranged by Jace and by Maokai saplings, and it just doesn't sound fun, does it?
No.
It just like, go ahead. Just Yeon, just go ahead. Like, just lock it in. Like, we know what's on the way. We don't need to sugarcoat it. Oh, okay. This I don't mind.
With the Maokai.
This I don't mind. So the reason why this is okay is you want another layer of additional reliable engage, right? Because whilst the Maokai R is slow rolling, it's technically non-committal, and there can be times where maybe it's a bit difficult to follow up with just the Twisted Advance. And in terms of ADCs that can lane well with the Nautilus, you kind of can turn this into a straight up engage comp, right? And the perfect champion in this slot is Kai'Sa. So Kai'Sa needs to get banned away. She can lane well, obviously, Kai'Sa Nautilus. She can play AP poke if she wants to. Misfortune would then also be the second one that I'm concerned about. And depending on what the solo lanes look like here for Gakkos, and Quad, yeah.
That's
they
actually,
need to be worried about
the
the
other option with a Ziggs.
Beat me to
That's
it.
true.
They
The
need to be worried
Ziggs
about
would
the
be
Ziggs.
really good.
Because when it's something that C9 did, where they ran Maokai and they ran the Ziggs, and everyone clumps up obviously to dodge out on getting multi-rooted by the Maokai, and then you just get Ziggs ulted on your head. So there's not really counterplay when it's happening from 2-3 screens away. It's a very similar thought process of what goes on with the Yone Maokai. In this case, you're just kind of shooting fish in a barrel. But now, either the Ezreal is up for the range and the safety and the peel, or you get Kai'Sa, who can kind of do everything that Ezreal does functionally in this exact comp, in this comp, and better, like to a degree.
Yeah, no, I think you're kind of right. There's a lot of good options here, and already it feels like if, for whatever reason, Team Liquid are in the river first, get control of Vision, how on earth does FlyQuest do your fight your way? And they've gone for the Gwen, which really suggests to me they want a tank top. They want someone who can phase check, someone who can tank up something like the Maokai. I suspect they're looking at a Cassante here, probably, to try and just have someone tank up the Maokai ult would make sense to me. But now, actually,
It would
you
be
pick up
kind
the
of
Litter,
evil if
Ezreal's
Morgan.
up.
It'd be kind of evil if Morgan blinded it.
Yeah, and just flex the Jace. I mean, Quid plays it, so you could do it. It's been a little while, but it's doable.
I mean, it's AD pick. It's Ezreal or Kai'Sa. It's just whatever Yeon prefers more. Anything else is just, I think, worse. And Kai'Sa seems to be the choice. No, ooh, wow.
Been a while. Okay.
Don't know what to make of that. We'll talk about it once the rest of this FlyQuest draft is in, because if FlyQuest go, let's say, something like that Cassante, or even an Ornn. I mean, like Aatrox is out, Gwen is out.
Do you need a carry, or do you need someone to deal with the Maokai ult?
You need, like Cassante fits both of those. Yeah. But what I'm concerned about is their ability to actually make fights happen, right? Now, if their thought process is Maokai and Nautilus can do the fighting, then it's all good. There was obviously the Vi hover. My problem with Vi simply lies in she might be a bit alone this game. Like, I think you have to play
kind of join
here.
an Aurora Compress R, which can normally hit
Can I be honest?
Vi does.
Do you know what would be weirdly okay here? Either. I don't think he like Griffin. Oh my god, no! Oh!
It's back!
Like I called for something weird, and it's like Griffin felt it through the force and just went, "Unk, I've got you," and decided to go. The Nasus here in game 3.
It's still red 5. It's still red 5. It's just not the same.
Exactly, and he did it the last time these two teams played each other in the EWC qualifiers here, and it kind of sucked for the majority of the early game, and then did its thing. This time, however, I think the matchup is a lot better, all in all, and we're actually getting mid lane Jace. Not often you see this.
I had a feeling, just knowing it was Quid.
I'm really curious about how this mid lane matchup is going to go, because Jace is historically a strong laner in top lane, because he has obviously both modes of being a ranged laner and a melee laner with very high base stats. But in a raw range-to-range matchup where I feel like very easily the trading pattern of Quad just using W if he has to close the gap, and then obviously dropping his combo onto Quid. The follow-up is kind of difficult, I feel like, for the Jace to actually look at, trying to trade back in. So we'll see how that one unfolds. Because what a crazy way to round that draft. We've got a center in the bot lane, we've got Jace mid, and then off the other side we've got Nasus jungle.
So I've been hearing rumors about the Nasus jungle basically when Bandle Pipes came in, because the Nasus could do something like Trinity Force into Bandle Pipes, and basically the Bandle Pipes, your Wither would trigger Bandle Pipes, so you get the move speed differential, you get the attack speed, and then you just get to wail on whoever you withered, and there's not a lot you get to do about it. It's a scaling option, it's sort of fake frontline. Maybe that can deal with the Maokai ult by pressing R with the Fury of the Sands. I have to say, I've seen very limited amounts of competitive Nasus in a long time, so I trust your judgment because you saw it the last time in terms of what you'd expect from it here.
Well, here's the thing. I actually didn't watch that specific game.
Oh, okay. I trusted you.
Look, honesty is the best policy, as was agreement to be by my mother, and so I think what's likely going to happen here is Griffin is just going to full clear.
That sounds like Nasus. Yeah.
He's going to last hit every camp of his Q. and he will have many stacks at 15 minutes specifically, as long as he's not invaded. And this is the kind of matchup where it's difficult for a Maokai to really be aggressive.
Yeah.
Especially because of the way that the lanes could potentially go. Especially the spot lane. If the 2v2 plays out like this, maybe there's a world of 3 camps, right? That Jose could go ahead and invade the spot side. There is a ward on it, so they know he started top.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what the decision here is. And again, we've got a lot of weird matchups to talk about here, guys. We'll try and get through them as we go. Because again, not that often we see a center lane. Obviously, Lulu Yunara has been very high priority across the year. It feels like there has become more and more answers as time has gone on. But nearly invariably, the Lulu Yunara is still very capable of getting early shove, getting early power. And you have gone for a melee support with a Senna who is not exactly high wave clear, but is relatively high sustain. So theoretically, especially it is a farming Senna, there should be some ways to try and keep people healthy. But shove, relatively limited. Quit, in danger.
Ooh.
Duration nearly gets it, but Jose Dione comes in mid. There is the shock blast accelerated. Punch back there with the Bramble Smash. Griffin's coming on over, though, and I don't know whether you win this. The winner comes on down. Now this poor old Maokai, he's got his pajamas on, and Griffin says, look, I'll put you to bed. Siphoning strike in a second or two. Flash to follow.
Oh, no.
Not quite, no. There's a blast going. Okay, he does go down. That is ridiculous.
This Nessus champ sucks, man. I'm just saying, look.
Okay, there's some bits of this here. I know you're a top laner and a
while.
junglist. You've dealt with him in multiple roles.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited to see it. And to be fair, a first blood is a good omen for a good rest of the game. So let's just be patient. Okay, let's just be patient and see how this goes. Already
Are
based for
you
a Kindle
talking to
gen.
me or yourself here? Just to check, Adrian.
It's a mix of everything. Right. It's a mix of everything. He's on crab. I almost like in this weird way, and I'm not asking production or observers. I almost want like a pit that just follows around Griffin the entire game. You know, like just
you heard the man.
no. I'm not asking. It's just what I kind of want in turn. Oh my god! Wait, oh yeah, that's a flash.
That's not the pip. That's just straight on screen, as there is a flash required there. And this was always going to be the worry. Lulu Yunara, the ability to full send with Whimsy, with the Cultivation of Spirit, is very, very scary. Forces that early flash away. Worth noting as well, the Nautilus has gone towards Aftershock. None of the spellbook shenanigans we saw in a lot of our engaged reports for a little while. And realistically, that is just going to be trying to survive as best you can and scale into the game. I do get a little nervous here for lane control, though. Again, eventually the Gnar will have a better time into the Cassandra, but early on the shove has been good. And mid lane, as you notice, like, hey, Aurora's got theoretically some good trading moments. There you go, just following the big old dog in the jungle. Appreciate you observe. It's not a pit, it's just a full widescreen experience.
I'm glad he's using the right skin though. You know.
Is that
I feel like all
Infernal
the
Nexus? Is that the one?
It's the one where he does the Snoop Dogg dodge. I forget the name for it.
I think that's Infernal, but I actually genuinely don't know.
Infernal Nessus. That's the one.
Okay,
Yeah,
correct.
that's the one. Yeah. And then Observer's like, wait, what? Yeah, what skin is he again? Yeah, that's Infernal.
Well, I can put this out there. He's leading in gold right now. So, you know, like this Nasus is winning the game. Look at that. That's a 2.1 thousand gold Nasus at a whole 5 minutes.
Oh, dude, you know what? I just realized, like, Krux has to be due. Can we look at Nasus quickly? Again? Now I'm actually asking. For a brief second. No, there's a gang. Because he's going to start farming. Never mind. Look, there's a gang. Hey. Maybe not. There's not a gang. Because Quad's covering. Hey.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the reason why I asked is because Krux have to be juice, right? Like, there's just so many little ones. You probably get maybe 4 Qs. Yeah, or you get.
My temptation would be to press E on them, which would be wrong. You should just Q them.
You should Q like as many as you can without you wasting time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the efficiency would be, like in terms of like what the efficient way to do it is. How many Qs do you want to go to time, I suppose. Bot lane, Yon and Cortege have managed to get some shove down here, which is not always a guarantee as a Senna and a Nautilus, but so far so good. Deciding that with the lack of priority and the jungler not down here, they will play a little bit safer. The saplings come on out, and always nice. Got a fake vision with that. Play still happening. Out comes that Kanmei step. Yon throws down the Curse of the Black Mist and drags everyone inside that veil, and everyone gets to walk away. There was a moment there where FlyQuest were looking, I suspect.
Yeah, so weirdly, for anyone at home maybe wondering, well, FlyQuest have Cryo Block, how the hell did they end up losing Drake, right? And then when I say prior, it's just, you know, double.
Bonk.
The zoom-ins are just making...
You.
Wait.
Come on.
That, stop.
Yeah.
There we go. Dude,
So
he's at
good.
123 stats, man.
That's good going.
Yeah, like jungle Nessus is juiced, bro. I'm just saying. Like that part that part is cool. Now he's once he's level 7, he's a champion. I'm not even gonna just do a long-winded like thing here. Like once he's level 7, he's a champion. Then once he's level 9, he's really a champion.
Is it just because you need those breakpoints on beyond Q, I'm assuming?
Yeah, pretty much. Like that's all of it. Q, like level 7 Q is when it starts to feel usable, especially in skirmishes when you pop your ult. And for those who don't know, because I guess you don't see Nasus every day.
For pro, that's true.
There was a time where when you would cast R, you wouldn't get basically anything besides the health and the cooldown. Now it is cooldown reduction on your Q, so you get to use it. It's a 50%, just a flat, non-linear, like against ability haste that you have, cooldown on your Q. So it is incredibly, incredibly powerful in terms of skirmishing. And again, that level 7 mark is really when you start to become scary in those 1v1s and those 3v3s as well. Oh yeah.
So this is a question here.
150.
Satisfying cypher about that. Yeah. That's a great way. But this is a genuine question. This is just me theory crafting, so knowing if you are in between big objectives and you're kind of like at that level 7 mark, is it worth? I just really got a nice combo there, did you? I appreciate that looking. But back to the question about the masks. Is it worth burning your ult mid-clear just to get more Qs off?
Mid-clear?
If it's between fights. If it's between fights, just to get more Qs on camps.
Nah.
Not worth it. Not efficient enough.
I will say this. A lot of people actually underestimate how low the cooldown is. Oh my god.
On the little mites.
The babies. But then I guess you're using your Q to
want to say
not
that. That feels really dark to say he's mashing the babies. That's not a great statement in general without context. Even with context, it's not great. So, you know, overcomes host ideas and it takes away before he grubs. The mites, exactly.
The enthusiasm is for the mites, not the the other one.
Just to clarify for everyone back home, Jamada is a well-adjusted human being and has no dark secrets in the slightest.
No, none at all.
Nice
Fantastic
combo.
trade. Wow. Yeah, I mean, he might have to just drop this wave. I mean, Jose, if they wanted to, I mean, the real eyes are on this scuttle here on the bottom side. Spawning, I think, shortly, given the position of everyone. Or maybe they just wanted that back.
Level 6 already there. Yon is potentially in danger here. Gets the Curse of the Flat Mist down as the ult and the Untouchable Shadow were popped there to get the dash forward. And Yon a little low. Again, will have some ways to sustain with the Piercing Darkness, but has to be a bit wary here. Core now threatening, has got a depth charge. Nice last embrace. But the Arc of Ruin still keeps Yon pretty low HP. Healing Shadow still available, so a bit of a bait. Always a possibility between that and the barrier. How many stacks is the Senna on? I'm not quite sure. I think it's 4 by the looks of it. So
yes.
Fairly decent.
Oh
point.
yeah.
Not the best.
Let's get that zoom in.
There we go, Q.
Let's just
yes.
dude, I can't focus. Like I actually can't be a professional when that champ's on my screen. I can't do it.
It's got that dog in it, quite literally. You know, Neferi can stand aside. Quid just gets to go forward here, and again, I think Quad is starting to hit these points where trading is becoming very
They're going to try and hit Yeon in between towers.
Okay.
Maybe. Or they just dive him straight up.
With that, once on down, out comes the Fury of the Sand, the Wild Growth knock up, the Dawning Shadow, and the Depth Charge is burned, but it means very little to the Cowgirl as High Noon Senna realizes it's looking much more like Dusk.
Hey, Masu, you don't need this wave, right? Like, actually...
Cute.
Oh, yeah! Oh! Oh, yeah!
12. Plus 12.
216. Sorry, God, this is too
We're
much
having
fun.
a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. No, I am. Fantastic dive. Not really too much to say other than look at how much effective HP Griffin has. Because he pops the R. I want to say the value at level 1 is 250. Might even be 350. They buffed it at one point. And then he gets Wild Growth. And then he has Protoplasm healing. So he's just tanking turret shots of days. By the time Cryogen tanks a tower, it deals 600 damage to it. And so they let the tower cool back down. And dive is super simple. They give the plus 12 over to the Nasus. Let's come out of the replay. The dragon is up. That first one, remember, it did go to T-Law. And I think looking at the map here, it's a hard sell for this to go over to FlyQuest.
I agree.
Perhaps some window
on the
shopping.
dive was nice for the dive, but the issue is more the fact that they get burned a lot of ults to make that happen. And yes, it's sort of true for the side of T-Law as well. But again, they're the ones now with Maokai, with the ult, the saplings. This is hard.
Yeah. Whilst he was in the replay, Masu also blew his ult again. Maybe a 50-50?
Here we go.
No.
Tries to go for the 50-50, doesn't get it. That's picked up by Jose Diona. Cryogen left very low, but Griffin begins to walk on board between worlds. We go. Everything's on fire. Yon flashes away, and instead the Yunara begins to unleash that cultivation in spirit. We're in a Wuxia novel, and this particular hero doesn't fly on swords. She flies on prayer beads and takes a few skulls.
And I forgot to do my Nasus due diligence as a commentator. There is a large misconception, which has always just kind of been a thing since the inception of Nasus, that this champion is a hyper late game scaler.
No.
That narrative is old. The narrative is very outdated. This champion spikes very hard. 1, 2 items. Oh, nice attempt to predict, but now you are mini Gnar. You have a hop. This engage is easy.
Like
but yeah, this champion spikes very, very hard on 1 items, level 7, level 9, and then the second item. And after that, he kind of, I'm not going to say tears off in strength, but he doesn't get linearly as strong into the game like how he does on those power spikes specifically. And fighting right there on that timer, man. Even though T-Law get the Drake, the fight obviously looks very, very one-sided. And so the gold for the time being, it leans in FlyQuest's favor, and a lot of it very much sits in Griffin. But of course, Masu has been the beneficiary of a lot of plays going on around this side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. And again, Yunara Lulu, very lane dominant. They take a bit of a risk to Team Liquid in going for this Senna Nautilus lane. Because it does feel like now, particularly with those dives having come on through, it's a fairly significant discrepancy. Yes, I do think the Senna will outscale. Yes, I do think you'll hit this point there between the various bits of zone control, of CC and saplings and shot blasts and Dawning Shadow and stuff. There will be ways to play out these fives later. The mid game is going to feel very, very good for FlyQuest here with this Yunara and Nasus spiking very hard, very early.
Exactly that. Now there's that level 9. Griffin's also working towards what I imagine, if I recall the build path correctly, it's Protoplasm into Iceborne, into build whatever you want day, and Jose, he's on the end of a very angry
it's a lumberjack! Oh no! The Q comes on forward, and that is a very large Nasus. Cerberus is let out of the underworld, and Hades is wondering where his pet dog has gone. They need to chase down that poor tree. That was pretty miserable. I don't know what's going on in the darkness. It's a decent last embrace, but they don't know where the Nasus is. They get to the turret. But Quid is going to be forced to back away. Oh, they're diving this. I think it'd be a risk. Pull away from that one, FlyQuest. I don't think you need it.
I think TL might need to employ good old Dante from a particular title, particular game. He's had some experience with creatures of this nature.
Does that mean you need Samira in the game just to get the real aesthetics down?
Now you're thinking in my wavelength.
I'm surprised you never became a Samira main, considering how much I know you love that particular series, which shall not be named.
Yeah, well, it's definitely crap. But like the champion,
you've ruined it. Well done.
I know. But the champion just isn't good. Almost ever.
You can leave that set. Oh
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm making like someone sad somewhere around the world. But yeah, I don't know, just not really my style of champion. I'm a big like drain tank enjoyer. That's kind of my vibe. And Samira doesn't really fit that build perfectly.
I mean, you could build.
But Samira on A-Round. That's a different conversation. I'm partial to some Samira on. Yeah, I'm partial to that.
Probably it's worth noting that we could be partial towards the Dragon fight in about a minute or so, and for all that Team Liquid are now 4,500 gold or so behind, and that's going to show in the items, it is still soul point potentially for them in about a minute's time. They do have good ways of taking control of the river. I just don't know whether they're going to want to bother, or whether they might just say, look, we'd rather let this J split push away, we've got a couple of grubs, try and play for gold rather than the Dragon stacking. Because at this point, the fight sounds tricky. Griffin is going for an invade, will be known quantity though, and instead it looks like FlyQuest want to take this moment to potentially grab a Herald.
Should be pretty easy pickings. This gold lead has bloomed itself out to 4,000. That's a big shock blast. Okay, I'm noticing. Quid, we'll keep an eye on the. Oh yeah, smite into key. Yep. So
you're very
it's
pleased
not
at these
boring.
Qs.
Yeah,
there is something very satisfying about the stack. We've got a center in the game, the queen of stacks.
Yeah.
And
Well, look, the OG meets the
Yeah. The worst
know?
is like the greatest of history versus the greatest of today, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And even then, like, does that tile even go to Senna? Like, does it not technically go to Smolder?
No, I hear you. Yeah, she's been dethroned. I'm sorry, guys. You're right. There's just no winning on this one. Senna, you're cool and all, but the champions have just come and mogged you from history and the future, which is kind of a rough place to be. Griffin now gets to come on over and stack on the dragon as well. We are living in a dog-eat-Drake world.
There we are. I'm sat here thinking to myself as well.
That's a neutral.
Because here's my problem, in which Quid is going to have to think about whether he has to flash.
Gets enough speed up to walk away. There you go. Ghostblade enough.
Why the Senna?
I'm
not saying I'm not saying it's doing anything wrong or it's bad right here, but it just feels like Kai'Sa would have been a little bit more self-sufficient. Speaking of self-sufficiency, Morgan's gonna have to find a way out somehow.
Gets the double wallop, can crunch away, does have a Mega Now, but he's being withered from that Q3 boulder toss, and Griffin might get sort of a chance to run at him still. He's got another wither, by the way, and now Masu comes on over. Are we donating the Q, or are we giving it to the AD carry? We give it to the AD carry, and Morgan can run as fast as he wants, but again, that Griffin, press of a button, and you just don't get to move.
Though I think I've played enough Nessus to visually tell, could we get a click on Griffin? I just want to know if he's maxing with a second. That's basically.
It might be.
Because
very obnoxious this game.
Yeah, that looked really slow. Let's find out. Oh, he's in target. The observer can't press the button because he's in the portal. That's funny. But either way, it seems like he is. Just looking over at my second screen, I forget I've got that. So
look at you with your fancy access to looking in game. I appreciate you.
Got tools. Yeah.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Keep begging the observers stuff. I can't remember. I can do it myself.
Griffin potentially looking for a flank here with this Herald. Gonna run into a sapling, but again, not that scared of John. Oh dear. Has to flash. That was getting real scary as the Wither came on down. Mid lane turret is dead to rights, make no mistake about it. Into the Herald we go. And that gives Nasus the mobility he wouldn't otherwise have. Jose Diodo debating the chance of the ult. They've got real deep. That dog is in him, and he just queued Senna. The skull comes off into Executioner's axe. Siphon power, the wild growth. All out goes Cassante. The Otofo started to blades. And now a polymorph onto Morgan who's nearly got a Mega Now, but I don't think he wants this one. Diving onto inhibitor turrets, and Griffin is just feeling it.
Okay, I really, really hope you have time to get a replay of that Herald crash, because there's a very funny interaction that I want to highlight as to what allowed Yeon to even die that. Thank goodness. All right, so Griffin takes the Herald, right? So Flash Wither, Flash and Barrier gone. Cool. Griffin knows this tower's probably dead, pops in the Herald, off the charge. Now, if you hit a tower, it bounces you out. Right? If you hit any other terrain, it just straight up will leave you kind of where you are. Actually, wait. No, yeah. So I thought Griffin did something else. So by hitting that second turret that isn't actually targetable, it just plops him on the floor next to Senna. It's so good.
Disgusting. Well, you're getting a 2,000 damage from a tank Nasus build, 2.1k from Mass. He's already snowballed as well. And again, much like that first round of the road to EWC here, FlyQuest are looking like they may well be on the verge of defeating Team Liquid a second time. Once in the upper bracket here in this lower bracket finals. For the first time this series, Liquid were behind in the early game, and now FlyQuest are up 6,000 gold, and they're hunting for Quid, who's got into an alcove, and you can game all you want. I have no idea where you think you're going to run. We'll jump onto the Cassante, he will W. Not find that many angles. The Archivist just go wide. Maybe there's a thundering blow. Decent attempt there from Quid to find a way out, but Gatcon says no and presses up.
Oh man, this game is starting to turn into a bit of a stomp. Initialize. Yeon is just going to tank the damage of the in-between worlds. Griffin, he has slowed the tree down. The tree has been slowed.
And again, Cryogen flashes to stealth Wild Growth. All right, I see you, Hillisang. That will be Jose Diodo going down as well, as Griffin ensures a death to the tree again. Cryogen really feeling it. You know FlyQuest are in a good space where they get to make those kind of style moves. Flash away from the dredge line. Morgan gets withered, hops away. But again, you ain't doing the cha-cha slide. No way to make this one real smooth. Cryogen just get rooted. Maybe they can start playing this one out in the 3v3. John beginning to throw out a few more of these piercing darknesses. Gakos needs to maybe get pulled back. The CG chain starts to get a little ridiculous, but there's still a whimsy behind them, and a heal nearly up as well. They keep running, but they've just got no damage. They've got no damage at all. Finally get that pull back. Maybe, just maybe, they will get that shut down as Quid turns up and picks it up. They can look at this mid-tier 1 and Team Liquid Academy get their first kill of the game at 21 minutes.
Really important timer, because this Hextech Dragon spawning in 15 seconds, so we'll see as this is low causal. Lulu Gaming, man. Just full-blown flashing in, ulting. You know your CC is enough. Slow ends up helping lock down Jose. Masu was obviously very, very close to dying there, making his own play on the side. What is forced to flash, but then of course Morgan is almost the victim of the cane. But then here's the tricky part, was getting out.
Yeah.
But we do lose that replay fizzle out to watch FlyQuest walking away from the corpse. Actually, of Gatkos in the mid lane, but also the dragon. The dragon is dead. Very good stuff. Oh my god, he gets the stack ward. Oh, dude.
We've got a gold mountain now for FlyQuest. Well, we could lose a little bit there with some of those shutdowns going on over. You know what, Liquid? I give you that one. And I do apologize. I think I said Academy. I was a victim of the T-Law name. A little bit too much NACL watching in my past there. That's catching me up, but there's the Baron start. And FlyQuest has said, you know what? We've got enough of a lead that we want to force you to come and fight.
Yep, as they should. As they should. So far ahead, they just need to turn whenever they feel like they've stepped too far forward. Big root.
The range is a problem here, you know?
Yeah, this is where Team Liquid's composition, it thrives heavily. I mean, one, Jose the Odo ult. Things will get tricky if they have to bunch up.
Which Morgan's
He's got a ward to stack the rage too. He's going to hit it now.
Yeah, here we go. They're going to make for the play. They try and jump onto the Mega Knight, but he gets the command of harm. This gets real scary. The wallop, they do try to turn on it. There comes that ult. The Nature's Grasp comes flying. Flash in from Gatkos. Doesn't find what he's looking for. Now we go into the sky. The Between Worlds is there. Goodbye, Tree. And they fight the split fight. Liquid thought they might have had an angle. They thought they had an open door, and it was all a ruse, all a lie. And that infernal Nasus, Cerberus, slams the door shut one more time. You are stuck down in Hades here with us.
Dog control. Dog's out of control. Cryo's gonna find himself picked off by Quid. Maybe he can make some magic here, you know. The health bars are kind of low on some of these carries. Griffin, oh no, he's pressed the win button. He can't move. Good night, Quid.
W gets pressed, and that's the end of that. Well, there you go. A valiant effort. We saw the angle, but unfortunately the gold, the stacks are just too heavy.
I mean, Morgan looks so threatening. And there's a ward that, you know, I feel like Morgan, he needs to not be worried about dying. I think he just has to go in there.
Yeah.
Just full send. I'm not... I don't want to be so critical of a team that's obviously just so far behind anyway, but it does feel like that was your moment and you don't pick it out. Just kind of saying, I'm happy to lose in peace. We're not going to win the front to back neither.
I mean, it's harsh, but there's some truth to it, right? That felt indecisive. Morgan's on the flank, and Dithers doesn't pull the flash key. We see them sort of go in on the other side, then pull back. And Liquid, in a position like that in this game, you can't afford that indecision because you don't have a lot of leeway in this game at all. Now the goal lead has expanded to 8,000, to Hextech Dragons as well, to other team that likes the ability haste and the cooldown reduction and the attack speed. I kind of conflate old and new terms there briefly, but what do you do? I mean, at least Yorn's got a few stacks, but he's miles off the 100 stack mark. He's miles off the 70 stack mark. This Senna is still very anemic at this point in the game.
This brother is not leave. He has been withered. He cannot move. He has been knocked up. He has been killed.
Yeah. Flash Wild Growth turns out Nasus does have some hard CC, assuming he gets an assistance from a Lulu. Goes low, he's got a Protoplasm harness, and therefore doesn't care all that much. Nexus on the eyes of FlyQuest. A match with Sentinels in the eyes of FlyQuest and Liquid. Oh, Liquid, you've got one last roll of the dice, and I don't think it's coming up anything other than a natural one. FlyQuest will march towards victory here, and Team Liquid dry up under the onslaught of FlyQuest in this third and decisive game. They're out of qualifiers, and FlyQuest earn themselves a matchup with Sentinels.
The young guns get it done. FlyQuest are able to bounce back and secure themselves finals, like you say, against Sentinels. And gotta say, commiserations to Team Liquid, especially when you kind of look at the flip side of how well things are going domestically, would steer a lot of people to think that, hey, this could just maybe even easily be a 2-0. But no, FlyQuest fight back, very creative draft as well. In that final game, bringing out the Nasus, allowing Griffin to kind of have his, how do we say, what was it that Castle did in the LCS? Trust me, bro. I can't remember. It was something like that. He's like, trust me, bro. And he locked in Nasus top. Felt like that was the angle here from Griffin, and very, very well done to ensure that, he's the one that pushes the game forward. We spoke about it being the jungle matchup at the beginning of the day, and it felt like each game, each victory was very much centered around that jungler's team winning.
Between that and the bot lane prio often made a lot of difference. Liquid actually had really good games 1 and 2. It felt like game 1 was winnable for them. I think they're going to be ruining the fact that they didn't close that one up. They gave FlyQuest that option to come back in. We'll have the stats here again, and Masu on that Lunara Lulu. I want to say Lunara Yu, which was just the wrong consonants, but they're so joined at the hip at this point. Perhaps I'm not so far wrong. And then you look at the other side, look, they lock the Sand and Nautilus, Team Liquid trying something a little bit different, and it just doesn't work.
You know, it reminds me of back in the day when you would have the Lucian Nami and Zeri Yumi meta, and it just got to a point where they were so synonymous with one another that you would just merge their names by accident, and you'd get like Lami or Lucian. Like, people would just mess that up. So you know what, Lunara makes sense. You know, she's very.
Thank you for the save on that one. I appreciate you.
Very, very like light based, I guess. I don't know what she's doing with those like magnet truth seeker orb things. But yeah, the game very slow up until around the 15-minute mark or so, maybe a little bit beforehand, and then it just blew open. And FlyQuest really, really accelerated this game with practically no flaws, right? It didn't really feel like there was a moment in this game like how there was with T-Law in their win, where there's a massive overextension and they throw away their overall control of the game. Just very calm, very collected, and kept them those heads on those shoulders.
It is just waiting on an interview here with one of the winning players from FlyQuest. When we know who it is, we'll let you know as well. Very excited to see what they think, because again, earns them a matchup tomorrow, and that will be huge because again, we'll get these replays going on. The early first blood, the Nasus drops his clearing, shock horror to come get first blood, and I think he was happy enough with that because it didn't get much better from there for Team Liquid.
Nope, no it did not. This was the beginning of their woes. This first initial dive, Griffin just gets, I don't know, 1,000 extra free HP between the two ultimates of Lulu and Nasus, and then Protoplasm healing. Quite ridiculous for the tower dive, and then does get his +12, does get his victory in the end. No, again, I don't want to point towards the draft as an issue here for T-Law, but it felt like they just didn't really have anyone to play on, you know? And I'm not saying that Kai'Sa would have been that champion per se, I'm not saying that Ezreal would have been, but when would Senna be useful in this game, right? Even though FlyQuest were really accelerated, I'm not sure where you find leverage here.
Theoretically, it allows you to play from long range and kind of keep your frontliners up for the CC chains and just kind of heal them and play as a bit more of a supportive option. But then it really needs like Jose on the Maokai to get a lot more AP. You need the Jason mid to be hitting all these crazy shot blasts on these CC targets, and we never really got to see one of those shut out vision control objective fights, which that kind of composition wants to do. Like, there was that one near fight around the Baron, but this was from 8,000 or 5,000 gold town. We can see at the top of the screen.
You know what? I'm thinking about it now, and I know the matchup sucks, but I actually think they had to go on. I really do. Right? Like, it was up. It wasn't banned. I think they needed one more form of like non-committal engage that really makes the backline sweat. And then they can play off the poke a little bit more efficiently. Yeah, and then like maybe you drop the center, or even the center can work under those circumstances. But either way, I just feel like the Gnar also, it's so difficult to play into this game if it's not through sides, right? And doesn't really feel like you were ever going to get the function through sides in this game. I don't know, like side lane, Nasus, does it sound playable? Like small blown skirmishes 20 minutes into the game with a 2-item Nasus? Doesn't to me. So I think a lot to think on there for the TL boys, but real good stuff for FlyQuest, right? At the end of the day, did a fantastic job again of just keeping themselves cool and executing on what they had to.
And as we said, it earns themselves a date with Destiny, with Sentinels tomorrow evening at the same time, which would be really, really exciting. That'll be a best of 5, and the winner there is guaranteed a slot to the Esports World Cup. And all of the wonders and prizes that will offer you to get there means you don't have to go through that LCS front to get there. Of course, the winner of LCS in spring will also make their way to EWC, but you can just confirm it there, which would be huge, 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 which is a massive deal. But after the break, guys, we have got ourselves a interview with the victorious Nasus jungler in Griffin. Very excited to pick his brain. We'll cut to that break, and when we come back, a little bit more insight into the workings of FlyQuest.
No two competitors are the same. Some run on routine for the chance to win big. Some make time to rise through the brackets. Some lock in with confidence. However you prepare, there's a place for every kind of competitor. PlayStation Tournaments. Sign up today on PS5.
PlayStation.
Reach your impossible. Lenovo Legion.
No two competitors are the same. Some run on routine for the chance to win big. Some make time to rise through the brackets. Some lock in with confidence. However you prepare, there's a place for every kind of competitor. PlayStation Tournaments. Sign up today on PS5.
PlayStation.
Who we're getting interviewed. I said Griffin because that was what I was told, but I'm happy to... Unfortunately, chat, we have to offer a formal apology here as the casters because we had a Nasus game and we didn't make the most important reference we could have done. Trick 2G, sorry, we didn't make the DK reference. Like, what are we doing, Adrian? What are we doing?
I'm disappointed in myself, you know? Like, I feel like we had a couple of good ones in there. But yeah, we are just still waiting for the interview to roll around before we close out the day. But honestly, again, just reflecting on the series, very, very fun. First off, but also very interesting to actually get a FlyQuest win, just because of how strong and pretty consistent in many aspects of their play Team Liquid have looked in terms of just patterns, right? And I feel like game states like the ones that we saw them in today, where they ended up going on to lose, the Team Liquid that I've been coming accustomed to throughout this qualifier, throughout the LCS, it feels like we're back in winter again in just this snapshot of a series. So hopefully, you know, bounce back in the domestic league, where of course they're positioned to not only win the LCS but qualify MSI, EWC, is still quite high.
And worth remembering, guys, there are 2 ways to get to EWC and 2 slots available. One is through these qualifiers, which has been a very different system, of course, to the other way of getting to EWC, which is just to win the spring split. So standard LCS format, that regular domestic tournament, all going through this massive gauntlet of a double elimination bracket. And it's been really interesting to see the level of play and the teams that have succeeded being so different, right? Because you would have expected to see the same teams at the top of one as of the other, and that hasn't really been the case, which has been pretty interesting. But fortunately, we can ask these questions to someone whose insight might be a little bit better than ours, namely Griffin, the victorious Nasus jungler. You pull out a Nasus in a deciding game 3. What is going on in the drafting room at FlyQuest? What is this madness?
So basically, low-key, it was game 3. I was so nervous. I was like, or not nervous, like, this is the game-deciding game. And then we talk about draft. I'm 4-5. It's going down to the wire. 5 seconds left. We have a few options in mind that look pretty good. And then I say Nasus. And I'm like, low-key Nasus. Looks pretty good. But I was like a little hesitant because, you know, this is a game decider. Our life's on the line. We don't have double limb, stuff like this. But I was like, it looks pretty good. And we were asking other people's opinions. We asked Masu's opinion. He said, oh, let's look Vi. Let's look Vi. Like a loser. And I was like, no. No, I was like, no. And then I was like, what does my coach think? What does Dinkard think? And he was like, I trust whatever you want. And then we locked into Nasus. And then, whoosh. Okay.
That was very insightful. I appreciate the fact that it came with kind of like a full-on dramatic retelling, because that would have been a lot more boring otherwise. And I now feel like I've gotten a much better insight into what is going on and how you managed to just sort of like stunt on those fools. So, question then. Why pick the Nasus? Why does it look so good in that draft? Because again, you're so willing to pull out all this crazy stuff, the Mundo, the Nasus, the Ambessa, the Shen. Like there is something wrong in that brain of yours that's allowing you to come up with the non-meta stuff. Like there's something special there.
So I don't want to say too much because, you know, we play tomorrow finals.
Yep.
We play LCS.
Of course.
That's fair. That's fair.
Don't reveal the strategies.
Yeah. So I think it's very unique because I think I have a better understanding of this champion than other players. So they don't know what angles I think it's good, what angles it doesn't look good, stuff like this. So I think last time we played TL, I played Nasus into their Xin Zhao. So that's probably what they were anticipating. Is like, oh, I like this matchup, and they probably didn't anticipate for me to like it against Maokai, right? Usually these type of champions, I look at because I was dropping to 4-5, I saw 4 of their champions, and I'm like, this champion looks really good, right? This champion looks really good, this champion looks really good, etc. Without leaking too much, I mean, I like Nasus when it just has like really good wither value. Like the champion itself, like a lot of its power comes from its wither, right? Being able to slow, giving like your people a target to hit, and then various other things like I prefer, without saying too much, you know, but prefer what Nasus prefers, you know, being able to bang, scale, bang. So yeah.
Then I guess my follow-up, and again, it kind of leads into maybe don't reveal too much if you're playing it, if you're practicing it. But are there any champions in the jungle that you feel like are particularly undervalued, overlooked right now? It would be wrong of me to not mention, obviously, being a bit of a philosophical student of Mr. LS, the Last Shadow himself. You know, things like the Ivern, for example, right? I think people have always said very strong, but like just hard to play right now in this meta. Are there any champions kind of like that in that category for you that you feel like haven't been explored too much? Like you're one of the few junglers that's played Shen jungle in North America. I think that's a champion that's particularly powerful.
I think usually when I think a champion is strong, and it's usually a champion that's more niche, it's because I think the specific pick kind of warps the game, and if the conditions are met with the scenarios in the draft, then the champion kind of warps the game, right? And like I think there's so many champions in League. There's definitely, if you see 4 of the champions, there's definitely a champion besides the traditional champions that are particularly very good, right? So Shen is one that I think is another thing I'm pulling out. I feel like it has a lot of good value in certain comps and a lot of value into certain like meta junglers that are going on right now. So yeah, no, I mean Shen, like obviously Shen, his R is very game morphing, right? So stuff like this, yeah.
Okay, question from me then. Slightly broader picture stuff, because obviously you guys are playing LCS at the same time as doing EWC qualifiers, and it feels like the results have been very, very different from teams at LCS compared to EWC qualifiers here. And obviously you guys now in the finals got that potential to beat Sentinels and just lock that ticket tomorrow, which is very exciting. We'll chat about that Sentinels matchup after, I'm sure. But what is it about the two different formats that has kind of led to such a wild discrepancy in results for teams? Because it feels like teams that are doing well in LCS aren't always doing so well here at the road to EWC.
I think, I mean, the biggest difference is, I mean, obviously everyone wants to win, right? It's not like, because it's...
He was leaking too much secrets.
He was leaking
too many secrets.
They got him. Think can't turned off the PC. He was like, nope, he's going to say too much. Hey, we are going to win the finals. Young man, keep it down. All right? We don't need to know, or they don't need to know what we've got planned for tomorrow. Well, still, ever the bundle of energy, Griffin, isn't he?
Like, if people tell you that new players in League of Legends don't have personality, that there aren't personalities to get attached to in League of Legends, just show them that interview. Griffin is a firecracker. That guy is going places. I've never seen someone get up and just wandering around. That was so much fun. He was
pacing,
so hyped.
Just pacing. His thoughts are just coming out of his head.
Rotted. And the thing is, you actually have to sit down, and there's a brain in there as well behind the hype, which is great to see. Here's a look at this full bracket. One last match to decide things. FlyQuest managed to go all the way to the upper bracket, lost to Sentinels, and have now find a win again against Liquid, so they get the double rematches here between Liquid today, Sentinels tomorrow. Very exciting stuff tomorrow. Adrian, your thoughts on this one coming up?
Well, not because we were just talking to him, but I do think it will be another jungle-centric matchup. Hanbok has been the main engine for a lot of Sentinels' gameplay plans, followed by Rahel in the bottom lane. So I think we're looking at another jungle bot lane masterclass or disaster class throughout a lot of this next or this final series here to decide who qualifies for the EWC here from the qualifiers. Because yeah, we saw it here today, and these teams in structure are so similar to one another that I expect it to repeat in terms of what the focus is from the draft and from the gameplay of running it down bot with all members, but especially those junglers trying to focus on every play they can down there.
Well, the road to EWC has been long and winding, but we are very nearly at the end of the road. Only one team will be able to travel all the way out to the Esports World Cup proper from North America from these qualifiers, and it's going to be one of FlyQuest or Sentinels. They had to go via the low road, did FlyQuest today, but they did so in style. We heard from Griffin, all of that energy and creativity gives me a lot of hope. Jamada, it's been an absolute honor to be back on mic with you. I've been Initialized. Thank you for listening to us. Your final thoughts, Adrian, before we bid the good viewers goodbye.
Tomorrow's going to be a banger. I expect it to probably be 5 games because every Sentinel series domestically has gone the distance. This one probably will too. I've just got a feeling these teams are willing to just throw stuff at each other and see what sticks. So I'm here for it. I'm ready.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. One final leg of the race to go tomorrow. Best of 5 coming your way. Come and tune in. Make sure you are here. It should be very, very exciting. We'll be bringing you all the action here live on the various channels that you have been watching on today. But until then, we would bid you a very wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you are around the world. And we'll see you all tomorrow.